Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
But if you want to sort of see like a vision of the future, it's like basically the top 20 and or even the top 100 is like totally dominated by China. It's
really?
Insane. Yeah, there's like China and a little bit of Korea and Taiwan.
So are you in the top 20 in the world or top 20? Wow, in Diablo.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody your handle? No, don't tell them. Don't tell them. It's not worth it.
Well, they actually listed me with my actual name in the list.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
There's only 2 Americans in the top 20. The rest, almost everyone is from Asia. Otherwise,
we were talking about something that I think is a really good, because people always think that video games are frivolous. But what you were saying, I think that's really important, is it's so difficult that it requires you to only think about that, and it can like relieve stress.
Yeah,
it can take out the rest of the world because it's so hard.
Yeah,
you can only think about that.
Yeah, I mean, if I play a video game on extreme difficulty, then I have to concentrate fully on the game, and it has a calming effect.
Yeah,
it sort of chills down. I mean, you mentioned, I think, and many people like if you play martial arts or you play pool, like something that forces you. It's like I think anything that forces you to concentrate fully actually has a calming effect. I find it just sort of like. Kind of a restoring effect. Mentally.
Yeah,
it's good.
Jiu-jitsu's like that.
Yeah.
Archery's like that as well.
Yeah.
Like when you're shooting a bow, you have to. There's so many moving things, and you have to think only of it, and it cleans the mind.
It cleans the mind. Yeah, exactly.
I was reading this study about surgeons, where they found that surgeons who regularly play video games make less errors.
Well, I mean, video games require manual dexterity, so it makes sense.
Completely makes sense.
Actually, if somebody was like epic at video games, I'd say like their surgical skills can be very good, because in order to be good at video games, any kind of fast reaction video games.
Look at this: 32% fewer errors, 24% faster, and scored 26% better overall than their non-player colleagues.
Oh, I believe that for sure.
Incredible.
Well,
like that, you should be required in medical school to play video games. Don't you think?
If somebody's like a top-ranked video game player and they say they're a surgeon, I'd be like plus 1, plus 2 type of thing.
Oh, top rank for sure. Well, but this isn't even top rank. This is just people who play.
Well, your manual dexterity has to be extremely high.
Yes.
So you're looking at things on a screen. You're reacting, and sometimes you've got like 10 milliseconds to react.
Yes.
And so if somebody's got incredible reaction times and manual dexterity, they're obviously going to be a good surgeon.
Imagine if there was a course that you could take. That course would promote. You would be 26% better.
Yeah.
Everyone would have to take that course.
Sure.
Why would you want a surgeon that's less prepared? You would say, hey, Bob, did you take this course? You didn't take this course. Don't you understand this course makes you 26% better?
Sure.
You would have to take it. Everyone should have to play video games if you want to be a surgeon.
Well, I think it certainly would be a very good test to see if somebody can't play video games well. Like that means, because you got to move both hands simultaneously.
Right.
You've got to react to something very fast, then on the screen. So, and if your keystrokes or your mouse clicks or whatever are wrong, then you lose the game.
Right.
So, if somebody's has a good rank in video games, I would say that their manual dexterity must be extremely good.
Well, it's so
their fine
hard.
motor skills have to be excellent.
If you think about like StarCraft or any game like Quake, any game where a lot of people are playing, to rise to the top, you have to be exceptional. Period. As a human being, there has to be something exceptional about you.
Yeah. Actually, if I mention Quake, way back in the day, I was one of the world's best Quake players.
I know we talked about this.
Yeah.
I loved Quake.
Yeah. I mean, my final semester in college, I probably put more time into Quake than all my college classes.
When I was on news radio, all of the writers were super nerds. They were very, very fun guys, and they had a LAN set up at the studio where they all played Quake. I had never played video games, and I would go in with the writers and just kind of hang out with them. We'd get silly, and then we would all start playing video games and playing Quake against each other, and I got addicted, like hardcore. I got a T1 line installed in my house. I went hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. Checking how many milliseconds of latency you have.
I was fully addicted. I was making my own computers. I was going to Fry's Hardware and buying motherboards and putting everything together. And, it was too much of a time suck, though. I'm an obsessive person. I can't get involved. Like, I can't play golf.
No, golf is too slow for me. I mean, I know a lot of people find golf good, and I mean, I guess if you think of it like I guess if you're saying you're going to walk outdoors with friends and occasionally hit a ball, then and you just as an outdoor walk, then that's cool. And it does require concentration when you're hitting the ball, but it's too slow for me.
Nothing compares to video games in terms of like the amount of feedback you get, like the sensory overload you get when you're looking at a large, high resolution screen. You have a fast computer. You have headphones on. That you're hearing sounds from here and sounds behind you, and rockets are flying by you. And there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
But I think golf still is like Jamie will tell you. Jamie's an addict. He's a golf nut. It's super addictive, and it takes 8 hours a day.
It's once you get into golf, I guess any sport it gets super addictive. But for me the intensity of video games is hard to beat.
Yes, people dismiss it because they think it's just a waste of time. But we're showing like real world benefits of people playing video games.
Yeah.
If you want to be a drone operator, it's the only game in town.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
You have to get really good at video games.
Yeah, for sure. So, in fact, I can actually tell like what my mental acuity is if I play a very hard video game. So if I'm trying to sort of get like an extremely good clear time in Diablo or something like that. Or a first-person shooter, whatever the case may be. Like if I can tell that I'm tired, or my brain's not working as well as it should. It's like a mental calibration. You can tell immediately, like how good is your mental state?
Right, right.
So it's like if you're trying to play really well, like if you play late at night and you're tired, you just play badly.
Right.
And you can say, okay. You may think that your brain is working well, but it isn't. Because you play the video game and you're like, you suck. So okay.
Yeah, you're putting it under stress. Yeah. You're really stress testing it.
You stress test it, and because like sometimes like I think I'm fine, but then you play the game like okay I'm not. I'm like 10% below what I should be.
That's how I feel about workouts for sure. Like that's how I knew I had COVID, or I knew everyone in my family had COVID, and I was trying to not get COVID, and so I was working out. I was like something's up. Like I felt fine normally, but then during exercise, I was like, okay, I can tell there's something wrong here. So let's just back off, relax.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like people who don't stress test their mind. They think they're operating on the same level all the time. Like sometimes I come in here and I can't form a fucking sentence, and I don't know what it is. It's like, what is going on? So it's just like
sleep's not. Maybe it's like sleep wasn't that good or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Or I'm too busy, and it's not. The words aren't coming out. Like I know how to talk. I talk professionally, and I can't fucking talk. It's like
I mean, sleep is massive. I mean,
huge.
So if I can tell immediately, did I get a good night's sleep or not? If I just play like.
This episode of the Joe Rogan Experience is brought to you by Call of Duty. You know, when a new Call of Duty drops, everyone's trying to find a way to squeeze in those extra hours of gameplay. I get it. Life is busy, but sometimes you just need...
Hey, Joe, it's the replacer. Yeah, no, you. Hey, I'm going to take it from here so you can enjoy some Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Great. Now listen up, folks. Life can be chaotic, but you shouldn't have to miss out on the latest Call of Duty just because you've got, responsibilities. That's where I come in. I will handle the boring stuff like work, chores, even podcast ads. So you can dive right into the fight. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is out October 25th. So dive in because I've got your back. Remember, I replace, you play. It's that simple.
Man, the replacer always gets it done. Seriously, though, if you're hooked on Call of Duty, this is your time to jump in. Head over to callofduty.com/Black Ops 6 to get in the game. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, available now.
Rated M for mature.
This episode is brought to you by The Farmer's Dog. Dogs are amazing. They're loyal. They're lovable. Like, just having Marshall around can make my day 10 times better. And I'm sure you love your dog just as much, and you want to do your best to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. And a healthy life for your dog starts with healthy food, just like it does for us. There's a reason having a balanced diet is so important. So how do you know if your dog's food is as healthy and as safe as it can be? Well, Farmer's Dog gives you that peace of mind by making fresh, real food developed by board-certified nutritionists to provide all the nutrients your dog needs. And their food is human grade, which means it's made to the same quality and safety standards as human food. Very few pet foods are made to this strict standard. And let's be clear, human-grade food doesn't mean the food is fancy. It just means it's safe and healthy. It's simple, real food from people who care about what goes into your dog's body. The Farmer's Dog makes it easy to help your dog live a long, healthy life by sending you fresh food that's pre-portioned just for your dog's needs. Because every dog is different. And I'm not just talking about breeds. From their size to their personality to their health, every dog is unique. Plus, precise portions can help keep your dog at an ideal weight, which is one of the proven predictors of a long life. Look, no one, dog or human, should be eating highly processed foods for every meal. It doesn't matter how old your dog is. It's always a great time to start investing in their health and happiness. So, try the Farmer's Dog today. You can get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to learn more. Offer applicable for new customers only.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8th, 2025 if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodities interest can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Displayed prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. Learn more at robinhood.com/election.
Video game for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, my sleep wasn't that good because it's my and then sometimes your brain will recover through the day, and it's like, okay, like an hour or two after waking up, it's better.
Yeah.
Because your brain does kind of recover from bad nights of sleep a little bit.
Do you know what really helps? Creatine, apparently.
Does it?
Yeah, creatine is actually a nootropic, believe it or not. There's a lot of benefits of creatine that are really weird.
Are there any downsides?
No,
it's
a natural part of food. Yeah, especially women. For women, apparently, especially postmenopausal women, it's very beneficial.
Okay.
And there's a lot of cognitive benefits, and one of the big ones that they found recently is performance when sleep deprived. Mental performance when sleep deprived increases pretty measurably when you supplement with creatine.
Is creatine naturally occurring in steak or?
Yeah, it's naturally occurring in meat, I think. I think that's where it's coming from. I think it's primarily an animal-based thing. Yeah, but
I did switch to steak and eggs for breakfast, and I found that's like a power-up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're all overrun with carbohydrates.
Yeah, totally.
And you just, carbohydrates make this big crash, the rise and the crash, totally. The rise and the crash. Yeah. You stay flat if you eat a primarily high protein, high fat diet.
Yeah.
Your body runs off ketosis, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I just have steak and eggs, no bread or anything.
Yeah.
And
it's great.
It's great, actually. It's a power-up, I'd say.
People dismiss this whole carnivore diet thing because in our heads, there's a lot of propagandists that put this thing out there that animal agriculture is the #1 contributor to global warming.
Yeah, it's rubbish. It's
bullshit.
Not true. Bullshit.
It's hot bullshit.
It doesn't matter.
Not only is it hot bullshit,
Irrelevant.
but the real problem is factory farming. Regenerative farming is carbon neutral if it doesn't sequester carbon.
The animals are not going to make any difference to global warming. None. Zero.
No, it's
zero.
horseshit.
Zero, zero, nothing.
Do you think that that's just propaganda because of people that have a vested interest in plant-based meat products and things along those lines, green energy?
I think it's part of it. You're generally going to get people pushing to avoid meat. Some people just, maybe they've got a financial interest. Maybe they're just vegetarians or vegans or whatever.
Ideological interest.
Ideological reasons. But it's not going to make any difference to global warming or the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. Really, if people eat fewer steaks, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Irrelevant. I want to just be super clear about that.
Yeah,
will not matter. You will not even be able to measure it. Okay, that's how irrelevant it is.
Isn't it funny that's
unmeasurable?
That's
irrelevant.
A heretic speaking. Like, that's crazy talk now. Nowadays, it's like you have to say that we have to eat less meat.
No,
that meat is bad.
We totally eat as much meat as you want. It's not going to make a difference.
Sing it. Tell the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And if somebody says it does make a difference, I'm like, how will you measure it? And if you can't even measure it, then it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, I won't be able to measure it.
Well, there's so much bullshit out there. First of all,
it's bullshit in all directions.
Thank you so much for buying Twitter.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. I really do. I really think you made a fork in the road. We were headed down a path of censorship and of control of narratives that is unprecedented. Forget about what they were able to do back when they had newspapers and the media under control. What they were doing with social media by suppressing information, and when you had a combined government effort, like what they were doing with the laptop story, where you have 51 former intelligence agents saying that this is Russian disinformation, take it offline, and Twitter complied.
Yeah.
If you didn't buy that, we wouldn't have known that. We had no idea.
Exactly. No, it's. I mean, the reason I bought it was because I'm pretty attuned since I was like the most interacted with user on Twitter before the acquisition. So before the acquisition, I had more interactions than like there's some accounts like Obama and whatever had higher follow accounts, but I had the most number of interactions of any account in the system. So I was very attuned to like if they change the system, I can tell immediately. Like, and I'm like something weird is going on here, So there's like I just got increasingly uneasy, and obviously when they deplatformed a sitting president, deplatformed Trump, that was just insane, and the things he was posting, like he was posting things that like he was posting good things. He was saying like, hey, do not riot, don't do any destruction of property, please stay calm. That's the kind of stuff he was posting. Yeah. And you're like, what's wrong with that? And then some people said like, oh, that's like some sort of dog whistle. He means the opposite. I'm like, okay, so we'll give you Trump's account. Now you post what you think you should post, because he can post nothing. He can ask people to calm down. Like what? It was insane. Like it didn't make any sense.
Well, it's completely illogical when you say it's dog whistling to tell his followers to not be violent. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Don't you think they will listen to him?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole point? They listened to him and created violence in the first place? That's what you think. That's what you're accusing him of.
Right.
And then there's the fact that we know that there was agents in the crowd that were agent provocateurs that were encouraging people to do illegal shit.
Yes.
We know that for a fact. This is not that. It was always the big Alex Jones type tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, because Alex proposed that back at the World Trade Organization protests. I believe we're in Seattle in the 90s. And they sent in agent provocateurs, started smashing things, lighting things on fire. Now all of a sudden a peaceful protest is no longer peaceful.
Right.
They move in the cops. They shut everything down. They had it set up where it was a no protest zone, where you couldn't even have a pin that had the WTO with a red line through it. They wouldn't let you go in through to go to work. So you couldn't protest. You couldn't exercise your First Amendment rights. You couldn't even like have a peaceful protest, a fucking sticker on your car. You couldn't have that. It's crazy.
It is crazy. So no, I think we're very much at a fork in the road in destiny, I mean, the reason I did the Twitter acquisition was like, it's like, man, if I don't do this, I think we're screwed. Is the issue?
Well, if you didn't do it, no one else was going to do it, because it wasn't a financial winner. It was kind of a crazy move. It's
a crazy move. I mean, the thing was way overpriced, like long term, I think we can ultimately make it a win for investors. But boy, this is a hard way to make a living.
Well, there's also a concerted effort to suppress it. There's a concerted effort with the advertisers.
Well, we had and still have a massive advertiser boycott that was organized by a bunch of left wing NGOs. Like and you always want. And I should have brought my. I have a hat, Make Orwell Fiction Again.
I've seen that hat.
Yeah. I should have brought. I was going to wear my. I should have brought my Make Oil Fiction hat. But yeah, I mean, it's just totally nuts. So.
If you didn't do it, no one would have. And here's the hilarious narrative that I keep hearing from idiots. Elon's a bad businessman. Twitter is worth, 400% less than when he bought it. No, it wasn't worth that in the first place.
It wasn't worth that in the first place.
It wasn't worth $44 billion, you fucking morons.
Yes.
Like, wrong. And also, you're not taking into account the advertiser boycott.
Exactly.
That's total bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. So there are these organizations, like you can tell there's they're like when they have an Orwellian name. So like the Center for Countering Digital Hate is a total scam organization, because they're like the Ministry of Truth type of thing in Orwell. They're a censorship organization.
Yeah.
And they organize and they pushed the advertisers to boycott. So we still have some of the boycott is starting to lift, and I think if Trump wins, we'll see probably. Most of the boycott lift, but if Kamala wins, we'll see that boycott get stronger, and they'll friggin' shut down. There's no way that the sort of Kamala puppet regime would allow X to exist.
You really think that they'll be able to shut it down, though? Is there a pathway to that?
Yes.
What would they do?
Well, I mean, they can sick the DOJ on and say they've had this whole thing about hate speech, misinformation, whatever, except that they're the ones pushing the misinformation. But that doesn't stop them from filing massive, lawsuits and using the DOJ. I mean, the DOJ has, been attacking SpaceX, for example, for not hiring asylum seekers, even though it is legal for SpaceX to hire anyone who is not a permanent resident of the U.S. So we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. There's just an example of what DOJ can do.
So it's illegal to hire someone who's not an American citizen?
What SpaceX is considered an advanced weapons technology. So it's covered by international traffic and arms regulations because we make rocket technology that can be used against the United States. So like if North Korea or Iran got SpaceX rocket technology, they could use that to launch nukes at America.
Right.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that'd be really bad.
That'd be really bad. So we're since we are in the most extreme category of weapons technology at SpaceX, under U.S. ITAR law, it is illegal for us to hire anyone who's not a permanent resident because the presumption is that if they're not a permanent resident, they're going to return to their home country and take the rocket technology with them. So so it's illegal for us to hire anyone who's either has not a permanent. They can have a green card or be a citizen. They just have to be a permanent resident of the United States. Then there's another law that says if you discriminate against asylum seekers, you're also breaking the law. So the DOJ can only do a small number of big lawsuits every year. They launched a giant lawsuit against SpaceX, saying that SpaceX discriminated against asylum seekers. And we're like, but it's illegal for us to hire anyone who's not a permanent resident. So we're in this this is what I mean. It's like the Orwell situation is getting insane. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So you're damned.
Can you imagine history looking back
Fucked up, man.
At when you watch the robot arms catch the rocket and you realize this is one of the greatest accomplishments in the history of aerospace. It is one of the most wildest accomplishments. Yeah. When you watch that thing come and you see all those people cheering and it catches it perfectly, holy shit. Imagine how history is going to look back at the DOJ going after that company.
Yeah.
How insane
it
is.
Big lawsuit with an army of lawyers. This was not some minor thing.
But it doesn't even make any sense.
Doesn't
logically.
Make any sense.
How could it even get brought to court if it's illegal?
That's exactly. So that's what I mean. Basically, if the government wants to go after you, they'll just find a reason. It's like that famous quote from Beria. Stalin's chief torturer, the head of Stalin's secret police, and he's chief torturer, truly evil human being, this guy Beria. One of his famous quotes was, "Show me the man, and I'll show you the crime."
Right.
They decide that you're the target, and then they figure out the crime afterwards. That's the issue. They decided SpaceX was the target. They just figured out the crime afterwards.
Which is so crazy because that's exactly what they're saying Trump is going to do if he gets into office.
They're doing all the things that they accuse Trump of doing.
Yeah. Openly. Yeah.
I mean, the sheer number of hoaxes that the Democratic Party is pushing over and over again. And it's like, look, I understand like politicians are going to, exaggerate. They're going to misspeak, and they'll tell occasional, untruths, whatever. That's how it is in politics. But when you have deliberate, concerted, repeated pushing of hoaxes, you're like, wait a second, like, come on, man, this is too far.
And you're supposed to be the good guys.
You're supposed to, and you claim to be the good guys? I'm like, exactly.
You're supposed to be the progressives.
Yes, the Dems are like, oh, we're the good guys. We're the honest people. No, hang on. You can't claim to be the good guys. You can't claim to be the honest people if you're deliberately pushing hoaxes that have been debunked thoroughly.
Yeah.
Well, we're like even Snopes, which is a liberal thing, says it's bogus.
Yeah.
Like the Fine People hoax.
Obama just said that on stage.
Obama just said that. I was like, what the flying fuck?
He doesn't give a fuck. They're just
That's
just
a flat
going
out
for
goddamn
it.
fucking lie.
Flat out lie.
Flat out fucking lie.
How about the other one where Kamala's campaign used what Trump was saying about protecting women and from illegal immigrants?
Thank you.
You remember that? What he was saying is, if the women like it or not, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
When he was saying that, they were trying to say that he was taking away women's right to choose whether women like it or not. Like, that's not what he was saying.
Absolutely.
He was literally talking about protecting them from dangerous people that are sneaking in through the border.
Yes, exactly. They'll take like not even a full sentence, like a half a sentence from Trump, and then they'll push it on every ad, every speaking event, every
and it gets
media.
repeated on the news.
Yes.
This is what's crazy. They'll talk about it on these news shows, news shows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a recent one that came up, which had a lot of people, because a lot of people reached out to me, was like, they're like, oh, Trump says he wants to execute Liz Cheney. I'm like, that is utter bullshit.
It's not what he said at all.
It's not what he said at all. All he said was like, what he's saying is that, look, if Liz Cheney actually had to fight at the front lines, she'd think twice about going to war.
Exactly.
It's easy to go to war. It's easy to be a warmonger if you don't have to, risk dying at the front lines. Basically, it's fucked up if people are having like fancy dinners in Washington D.C. While people are being slaughtered in trenches. It's like you're not feeling the pain.
Exactly.
You're not taking the risk. It's someone else dying.
Exactly.
That's cruel and lacking in empathy. And all Trump was saying was that it's like Liz Cheney would be much less of a warmonger, because she's a huge warmonger, just like her dad, if she actually had to go to the front lines and fight herself.
And meanwhile, they're saying that he's saying she should be shot.
Yes, which is a total lie. But I had like tons of people call me this weekend saying, "Oh, Trump says he's going to put Liz Cheney in a firing squad." I'm like, that is an outrageous lie. And legacy media ran with that lie, big time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just wild to see. And if it wasn't for Twitter or X now, I don't think we would know about all this stuff. I think it would be very difficult for you. I think YouTube throttled. They did something weird. They won't say what they did, but they did something weird with the Trump interview that I did.
Yeah,
where you couldn't find it.
It doesn't make sense.
It made no sense.
I mean, it was like the biggest interview on earth.
Yeah,
and you can't find it.
Yeah. Not only that, it wasn't trending.
Bullshit.
It wasn't trending.
It wasn't trending.
No, it wasn't trending.
You're like, there's just no excuse for that, man.
No excuse.
There's no excuse.
It was getting 1 million views. 1.4 an hour at one point in time? 1.5 an hour.
Yeah.
And it wasn't trending.
Yeah. And it's like your channel is a known channel. It's not like it was started yesterday. It's like
yeah.
It's like this is a high trust. Yours is a high trust channel. It's like you're not trying to scam crypto coins or something, So
well, thank God we put it on X as well.
Yeah.
Because I think just with your account and my account alone, it's like 70 million views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like you can't hide things anymore because of you. And if it wasn't for you, I think they would have had total control of social media by now.
Yeah.
They would have they banned so many accounts during the pandemic, so many dissenting scientists and doctors and physicians. They banned so many conspiracy theorists, so many people that colored outside the lines. They would have done that everywhere, and it probably would have. I think even at what's going on at Facebook, they're being more lenient. You hear Zuckerberg talking about taking a more libertarian stance. That's entirely reaction to the way Twitter has kind of moved the watermark.
Exactly. So, as soon as any company steps out of line and is willing to actually have the truth debated on their platform, it forces the other platforms to allow things to be more truthful, to not censor, because their censorship becomes glaringly obvious.
Yes. Yes.
And the best thing I found as a rebuttal, like if there's a hoax, is just go to the source material.
Right.
If somebody thinks Trump said that we should put Liz Cheney in a firing squad, I'm like, let me send you a link to X so you can watch his video. That's the best way.
Yes.
Don't take my opinion for it. Don't take anyone's opinion for it. Go to the source material.
And community notes.
Yes, and community notes.
Community notes
awesome.
is the best.
It's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets checked.
Yes, including me.
Yeah.
And with community notes, all the software is open source and all the data is open source. So you can recreate any given note independently.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
It's total, absolute transparency in every way. Sometimes I get asked like, "Oh, Elon, can you remove a note?" Mostly by the left, but sometimes by the right. I'm like, I don't even remove notes on my own account. Nothing. And by the way, everything is totally open. So if I did that, it would stick out like a sore thumb. Immediately. Like, it's not going to be subtle.
That is the best counter to misinformation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, let everybody look at it and say, okay, here's what the actual facts say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The counter to misinformation is better information.
Not just that, but having it checked in real time by the community. So you have millions of people that can go over it and debate whether or not this is true or that's true.
Yes, and like I said, like the best way to understand the truth of things is don't take anyone's opinion for it. Look at the source material. It's like, look at what someone actually said. Look at what someone actually did. Look at the real videos of the situation, and then you'll know what's real.
So, as of today, when you were literally on your way here, you sent me this text saying that they're trying to lock you up in jail in Pennsylvania. Tell me what the fuck is happening.
Well, there's the classic sort of Soros DA situation. So we're making a lot of progress in Pennsylvania. So I've given a whole bunch of talks throughout the state because Pennsylvania is the linchpin in this election. Whoever wins Pennsylvania wins the election. So I've been giving talks. And I spent 3 years in Pennsylvania. I went to college in Philadelphia. So it's not like I'm not a total stranger to the state. I spent 3 years there. And we've organized this petition in support of the Constitution, which I think is a good thing, and specifically asking people to, and we wanted this to be like registered voters in swing states. Like basically, we want to send a message to the politicians to say that the people care about the Constitution because there've been all these attacks on the Constitution. They've been, especially on the Democrat side, they've been repeatedly saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle, and they're claiming, oh, the First Amendment is enabling disinformation, misinformation. And I'm like, yo, there's a reason for the First Amendment, like freedom of speech. The reason the founders of the country put the freedom of speech there is because they came from countries where if you spoke your mind, you would get shot or imprisoned. That's why the First Amendment exists. And the Second Amendment is there to stop the tyranny of government. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is there to protect freedom of speech.
Robinhood is introducing forecast contracts so you can trade the presidential election. Through Robinhood, you can now trade financial derivatives contracts on who will win the U.S. presidential election, Harris or Trump, and watch as contract prices react to real-time market sentiment. Each contract you own will pay $1 on January 8, 2025 if that candidate is confirmed as the next U.S. president by Congress. Learn more about the presidential election contracts on Robinhood at robinhood.com/election. The risk of loss in trading commodities interest can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Commodity interest trading is not appropriate for everyone. Displayed prices are based on real-time market sentiment. This event contract is offered by Robinhood Derivatives, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Exchange and regulatory fees apply. Learn more at robinhood.com/election.
And I've had these debates, especially with people in LA, because they're like, want to take everyone's guns away. And I'm like, yo, can you guarantee me that that we will never have a tyrannical government in the United States? Can you make that guarantee? They're like, well, nobody can make that guarantee. I'm like, then we need to keep our guns, because that's what's going to stop it.
That sounds crazy for people to hear, because they think about gun violence and gun problems and gun this and gun that. But that's the reality of the world that we live in, is that tyranny is possible, and it exists other places, and it's slowly existing. It's slowly rearing its head in the UK. You're seeing, I think the number of people that have been arrested for just social media posts is bananas. It's in the thousands.
Yes, several thousand people have been given prison sentences in the UK for social media posts where there was no explicit link to actual violence, but they just said it encouraged violence. I'm like, well, did anyone actually do anything as a result of that media post? Well, no. But they just and then they have a prison overcrowding situation in the UK, so they're quite literally releasing convicted pedophiles and putting people in jail for Facebook posts. That's an actual thing happening in Britain.
That is so wild.
Like it's
so wild that people can't see
what the fuck, is going on.
And what's insane to me
Make
is
oil fiction again.
Yeah.
But
it's all being encouraged by the left. Ketanji Brown Jackson, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton.
John Kerry was one of the people who said that he's on camera like a few weeks ago saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle to fighting misinformation.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's such a crazy thing to say when you have a solution in community notes.
Yes,
you have a solution in something like that could clear everything up, any confusion within a day or two.
And even without a community note, you can reply to a post and with evidence that shows that the post is wrong. You don't even need community notes. I mean, community notes is helpful because it sticks to the original note.
Yes.
But in the replies, you can say, here's why you're wrong, here are the reasons, and here's the evidence.
But the argument is that people are too unsophisticated, that they're not going to research these things. They're going to be a victim of misinformation. So they're going to read something that's incorrect. They're going to run with it. People are going to die. We're going to ruin the world because people believed in misinformation. It's a stupid argument.
It's a stupid argument.
Because it's an argument that they're too dumb to know what's right or wrong. Well, if you know, because you're saying it's misinformation, why do you think that you're smarter than everybody who reads that?
Exactly. And obviously anyone on the X system knows that things are posted and then there are replies and there are rebuttals and it's immediately corrected. But where are the corrections for the legacy media?
Right.
If some broadcast media, they say false things all the time, but it's a one-way street. There's no rebuttal. There's no counter.
Right. Right. Who's apologized for being incorrect about what? Did Rachel Maddow ever apologize for telling everybody that if you get the COVID vaccine, you're never going to get COVID? It won't. The virus stops with you.
No, never.
Never. Yeah. No one ever. It's just. It was not true at the time. There was no evidence to support it at the time. It's pure propaganda. And she said it. The Russiagate hoax. For 3 fucking years, they said that he was Putin's toy, and that Putin had him compromised. The Steele dossier.
Steele dossier was completely fabricated by a lawyer at Perkins Coie, who was paid by the Clinton campaign. Literally.
Crazy.
And still people think the Russia hoax is real.
And there's no repercussions.
Yes.
No one had to apologize. Hillary Clinton never came out and apologized for that, and people still listen to her. The whole thing is crazy. And it's all coming from the left, which growing up as a person who was in the left my whole life, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Same. I mean, I was on the left until like 3 years ago. I mean,
it's not the left anymore.
It's not the left anymore. Yeah. It's just like I think we obviously want. I mean, I believe like we want freedom. Like we want to maximize personal liberty. I think we want to be kind to people. We want to have empathy, but it's very important to have personal freedom and a merit-based society. And the left wants to oppress your freedoms, especially freedom of speech, and they want to have a non-merit-based society, with race-based and sex-based preferences. And it's like, well, wait a second. No, we just want people to succeed based on their skills and their hard work.
And if they don't want people to express themselves about particular issues, then they're not doing the will of the people. And if they're trying to suppress people's ability to communicate, they're only doing that because they want to do things that people don't want them to do.
Yes.
And they want to silence opposition. That's all it is. And the
100%.
fact that people can't see that and they want to call Trump a fascist, The whole thing is
it's just
through the looking glass. It's just.
I mean, it's like one hoax after another that they're perpetrating against Trump. I mean, like they try to call the rally at Madison Square Gardens like a Nazi rally. I'm like, yo, there was like literally an Israeli flag in the audience. I think like a quarter of the speakers were Jewish. Like there were people of every race, color, creed, religion at that rally. Like, tell me what about that is Nazi?
No,
and yet it was portrayed as a Nazi rally. And
MSNBC, they literally showed video of the Nazi rally from the 1930s and then compared it to the Trump rally. Now, ignoring the fact that fucking Jimmy Carter spoke there.
There have been dozens of political rallies at Madison Square Gardens, dozens on the Democrat side. Like people on X were like, and here's Jimmy Carter, and here's
at a Nazi
Bill
rally.
Clinton, and here's wait a second. Actually, it looks like every presidential candidate has done on the Democrat side has done a rally at Madison Square Gardens. Are they Nazis too?
But what they're doing is they're preying on low information voters who aren't engaged actively on social media, who don't have the time to look through everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like people are living. If people are just on looking at legacy mainstream media, then they have a totally different worldview than if they're on X and seeing the actual flow of argument.
Yes.
And the actual evidence.
Well, what was the pushback? Like, what happened when you guys released the Twitter files? Because I think the Twitter files is probably one of the most important things in this age of information for understanding the influence that government has on social media and on discourse. Because when we found out that was the case, that the government was actually asking Twitter to remove posts that were factual,
all the time.
They did the same thing to Facebook. They had them throttle pieces of one of Tucker Carlson's show. They suppressed the views by 50%.
Yeah.
Of factual information.
Yeah, no, there was massive government interference in Twitter, but like Twitter welcomed it. That's important all Twitter welcomed it. All Twitter was controlled by far left activists.
Yeah.
So they welcomed the government interference. They got paid by the government for it.
That's crazy. They got paid for their time, correct?
Yeah, they got paid millions of dollars for suppressing information.
So it's like build
and
time.
And a bunch of it was like flat out illegal. Like the FBI had this sort of magic portal into the Twitter system, but all of the communication in that in this portal was auto deleted after 2 weeks, which breaks federal FOIA laws. So we don't even know what was said because it was all deleted after 2 weeks.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's so crazy. It's so crazy that people thought that was okay.
It's super not okay.
No, it's super not okay. It's unconstitutional, and no one would want that. No one would want the government to have that kind of access.
Exactly.
And what was the blowback like when all that stuff got released? Like, you had to anticipate that there was going to be problems when you released that. Like, what happened?
Well, we did lose a lot of advertising dollars,
which is crazy because it's essentially like one of the most important forms of journalism is exposing government corruption.
Yes. I mean, this is the weird thing. It's like the left used to be big on exposing government corruption, but once they control the government, they no longer want to expose the government corruption.
Right. They want to pretend that the left-wing government's incapable of corruption because we're on the good side.
I think it maybe just like, whoever's in power kind of doesn't want the other side heard. Because as you pointed out, like the left historically, up until, I don't know, maybe even 10 years ago or something like that, was the free speech party. And now it's the anti-free speech party. And they use words like, oh, well, we have to be against hate speech and misinformation, disinformation. But these are propaganda words. It's like, well, who's defining hate speech? Who's defining misinformation? The government? Do you really trust the government to make that definition? The whole point of the First Amendment is like, you do not trust the government.
Well, especially when they're wrong, and there's no repercussions.
Yes.
Yeah, like with the whole lab leak theory, if you would get kicked off of YouTube if you even presented this argument that, hey, maybe that coronavirus lab where they're doing work on the exact same virus that got released.
Yep.
Hey, maybe that's where it came from since that's where the virus started. What do you think, guys?
Yeah.
They kick you right off of YouTube.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's like, do you think maybe it could have come from a place called the novel coronavirus Research Institute.
Yeah, like that Jon Stewart bit that he did on Colbert. That was amazing.
It's like, what does it say on the door again? Can I see your business card?
And to see Colbert like resisting it with every fiber of his being.
Like, what's going to happen to us?
He was totally cock blocking the bit to the point where Jon Stewart got off his chair and started walking around to try to take
wild,
control. Man. Yeah, good on Jon.
And then the left tried to cancel Jon Stewart.
Of course.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he was right.
He's right.
And no apologies. No apologies. Yeah, and the whole Fauci thing, like any criticism of Fauci, it's like anti-science.
Fauci's a freaking demon, if you ask me.
If you read RFK's book, if the real Anthony Fauci, if that's correct, if the facts are in there, that's true, it's all referenced. You could find the sources, and on top of it, he's never been sued for that book, which doesn't make any sense. If he just made a bunch of lies up, he would get sued.
Yes.
So the guy's a monster.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think just looking at the lies that he told, the way he tried to define gain-of-function research to Rand Paul.
But I think maybe a lot of people out there don't realize Fauci funded the bioweapons research that was going on in Wuhan, and he bank shot it off. Like he can't send the money directly to China, so he just bank shot it off EcoHealth.
Right.
This like fake nonprofit in the U.S. and they sent it to Wuhan.
And Obama put the skids on that. He stopped that in 2014.
Yes, I mean, so to give Obama some credit, he actually was like looking at this and say, "Hey, this is crazy," and he actually did stop the so-called gain of function, again, a propaganda word, because what is the function they're talking about? Death.
Right.
So if you actually use the right word, this is gain of function is death maximization.
Right.
Then you're like, hey guys, should we fund bioweapon research into death maximization? Because that's what gain of function means.
Yeah, it means
that's the function.
Making
death.
a disease so that people can get it. Give it to people.
Yeah,
by the way,
what's that function again? Oh, the function is death? Oh, okay. So just call it a death-maximizing virus.
If you're doing
insane.
research on that, and the idea behind this research is so that we can cure these things, how come you don't have a fucking cure?
Start with a cure. Cure first, disease second.
It doesn't make any sense. Like you guys had no strategy for dealing with it if it got out. And so you have to make up this new vaccine in record time, Operation Warp Speed, release it to the people with very little testing. It's fucking crazy.
It was crazy.
The whole thing's crazy, and everybody just went along with it.
Looney Tunes next level.
Well, the PSYOP was fascinating to watch people step in line.
That's like one of the biggest PSYOPs of all time.
Of all time. And everybody got in line. And when you take it back to when pharmaceutical drug companies were able to advertise on media in the 1990s, that changed everything. We're one of 2 countries in the whole world that allows this.
Yeah.
And because of that, because we don't have socialized medicine, it's a complete profit scam. Mm-hmm. And they went hard, claiming all sorts of things that were never researched, all sorts of things that are not supported by data, like the fact that it would stop transmission, the fact that it would stop infection, the fact that it was safe for pregnant women, the fact that it was safe for children. All of it's bullshit.
Yes.
And they pushed it on the whole world. And if you didn't say that at a cocktail party, you were a pariah.
Yes.
And you were an anti-vaxxer.
It was totally psycho.
It was like being a Holocaust denier. You get kicked out of polite society.
Exactly.
Fucking bananas.
And I should say, I'm actually generally pro-vaccine overall. I think we should look at these things. But I believe in the scientific method.
Yes.
So you never blanket accept anything. You never blanket accept that any given medication or any given treatment is 100% good. You should always view it with some skepticism.
Especially when you're getting the data from pharmaceutical drug companies that have a long history of criminal
they've got a vested interest.
Conduct.
Yes, they've got a vested interest in the research. It's sort of like asking tobacco companies about, whether smoking is dangerous.
It's exactly the same thing.
Like, according to our scientists, everything's fine.
Yeah, they lied in court forever. The same thing they did with OxyContin when they said that it wasn't addictive. They have a long history of being full of shit if it makes them money. And that's what they do. That's their business.
They've literally lost multi-billion-dollar lawsuits in this.
Massive. They're in you have amazing scientists, right? You have these clinical researchers, these people that develop these incredible drugs, and this is their job. Their job is to figure out some new way to cure something, some new way to stop things, and then you have the money people.
Sure.
And the problem is when you have this one thing that you would assume they're only doing it to help people, and then they have this other faction that they're all just numbers people, and all they give a fuck about is maximizing profits and making sure they literally have an obligation to their shareholders. They have to make the most amount of money possible, and so they just want to push it on everybody, like the Vioxx scandal. There's internal emails showing they knew there was going to be cardiovascular events. People were going to get strokes. And they're like, I think we're still going to do well. And they did. They made like $12 billion. They got fined $7 billion, and 50 to 60,000 people died.
Holy shit.
Yeah. One of them was a friend of mine, got a stroke.
And died?
No, he didn't die. Okay. He lived, but he was a really healthy guy.
But
he was an
athlete.
He was
not the same afterwards.
Yeah, he had knee problems, and he took Vioxx, and all of a sudden he was slurring his words, and he couldn't concentrate, and people were like, I think you're having a fucking stroke, and they took him to the hospital. And then you have this giant class action lawsuit, and then Vioxx gets pulled from the market, and they get sued, and the whole thing's fucking crazy. But there's a long history of this. I think, what is the number? Like 1/3 of the drugs that the FDA approves gets pulled? It's fucking bananas.
That is crazy.
That's crazy. You're shitty at 1/3 of the things that you say are okay, but yet you're trying to stop MDMA therapy for veterans?
Yeah, they should let MDMA through, honestly. I think that would actually help a lot of people.
It would help a lot of people.
It would help a lot of people.
There's a lot of different therapies, specifically psilocybin, ibogaine.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to go to Mexico to get ibogaine therapy for veterans. So many guys I've talked to have gone over there, and it's like completely giving them a clean slate, refresh their mind, and totally new perspective on life, alleviated depression, cured addictions. Illegal.
Yeah.
Illegal. OxyContin, go get it.
Yeah. And I know some people who, like, their life was ruined by OxyContin. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, it really depends on somebody's individual biochemistry. Like, to me, opioids are not addictive to me. Like, I've had them when I've had operations or something, and they barely affect my pain level, and they make me, like, itchy and uncomfortable.
They make me stupid.
Exactly. But I'm like, like, I could never get addicted to alcohol or opioids. It's just impossible. Like, because my biochemistry just does not have but I love tasty food. Feel like, if there's, I'm addicted to tasty food, sure. But like there's like can be like I have a whole wall of alcohol. It's there for decoration.
Yeah.
I haven't touched it. Basically,
I feel the same way. I could easily quit alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go weeks without having a drink.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all. But I know some people, they have one drink and they're off to the races. And that's the difference in the biochemical differences that we all have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case with a lot of addictions. I'm not addicted to gambling, but I get it. I see it. I've seen it in people. But I have this aversion to things that I know are going to ruin my life. I see it. That's why I've never tried cocaine. I just saw too many people that it looks too fun. I'm like, I don't want to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally for any given drug, legal or illegal, you could. The question is, can you complete the following sentence? Blank made me a better person.
Meth.
Like, I've never heard anyone say meth made them a better person or cocaine made them a better person.
No.
Ever.
Made a lot of soldiers better, I think. That's
if you're doing if you're like if your soldiers need to march for 3 days in a row.
It does. It's really
meth
good
is
for that.
Effective at that, you know. Like people give like France a hard time about capitulating in World War II, but you know what's worse than Nazis? Nazis on meth.
Meth up Nazis.
They're not stopping.
Norman Ohler
they'll
wrote
have like
this
6
book.
bullets. They're still coming.
That book over there, Blitzed, is all about the use of methamphetamines and the different drugs that they gave their soldiers. The guys at the front of the line, they gave the most meth.
Yes,
they have different dosages.
Yeah. I mean, you just basically think you're vulnerable on meth, and so it's one thing. Like I said, so one thing, have like be Nazis coming after you, but Nazis on meth, you're like, holy shit, those fuckers are not stopping, man.
For 3 days,
they're not stopping.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's not a statement. Meth made me a better person that you hear very often.
I've never heard that before.
No, you hear a lot of like psilocybin advocates. You hear a lot of people that talk about psychedelics.
Exactly. I've actually heard many people say that LSD or mushrooms or MDMA made them a better person.
Yeah,
many people.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I think a rule for the FDA should be like, hey, look, if you can complete the sentence, legal or illegal, that blank made you a better person, actually.
Yeah.
Then then you got a good drug. And if you can't, you got a bad drug.
Also, if there's drugs that are available right now that can absolutely ruin people's lives, the rationalization for stopping other drugs that might ruin people's lives but also can help a lot of people's lives, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's basically the same thing as censorship. You're taking away people's ability to discern what's true and not true, and you're taking away people's ability to discern what's good for you and not good for you. And the way to find that out is to have as much information as possible.
Exactly.
So to do research and actually to have unbiased, actual objective observers who are looking at all this stuff that give you real data.
Yes.
And the opposite of that, or the counter to that, is like, if you don't do that, you're empowering cartels.
Yes.
That's the whole reason why they have all that money. It's because it's illegal to sell these drugs in America. The demand is never going away. So instead of like limiting the amount of drugs, now you've got toxic drugs because fentanyl and all this other shit has been, because they're not pure. So you're just killing people. You're not saving anybody by protecting them from themselves.
True.
But it's a tricky situation because what do you do? Like, if you just like say, okay, now everyone can sell, all these people that have been selling boner pills, now you can sell meth. Like, holy shit!
you get the double combo with the Viagra. It's like Viagra and a meth.
Right. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, how many people are already doing that right now with Adderall
a bunch of people
and
are
Viagra?
doing that.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that are essentially on meth.
Yeah.
Especially people that abuse Adderall.
Yeah.
They're basically amphetamine up all day long.
Adderall is low-grade amphetamine.
Yeah.
I have actually seen people like become much worse people if they take too much Adderall, like much worse. You know, it's like an anger amplifier. So they're now I'm not saying like Adderall is something like where there are pluses and minuses. It's not a clear-cut issue.
Right.
It does help some people a great deal. But in higher doses, man, that stuff, I've seen people turn into just raging monsters on high doses of Adderall. Just they're just angry, like extremely angry, all the time.
Yeah, they're methed up.
That's what happens if you take meth.
It's crazy.
You turn it like meth turns you into a friggin' rage demon.
And so many prescriptions.
And I'm like, Jesus.
We Googled it. Like 1 year, there was like 39 million prescriptions for Adderall in this country.
Oh yeah. And like once in a while, there's like an Adderall shortage, and like there's like widespread panic. You know.
And then what do people do? And then it's the same thing as like when they tried to like limit the amount of OxyContin. Well, people go to street heroin. And if you're addicted to Adderall and your dealer, the guy who sells you weed, is like, hey man, I can get you like low grade meth, like the stuff the Nazis took. Like,
well, they had high grade meth. Actually, they had pharmaceutical grade. They had epic meth. It was like made by like pharmaceutical grade meth is going to be just look at the freaking online Wikipedia page, but there's like many different versions of meth. Like not all the same, and they have different effects. But like pharmaceutical grade pure meth, you are going to be, oh my God,
super productive,
super productive for a certain period of time, and you're not going to sleep for a while, and then you'll have some anger management issues. So the Nazis, they did actually roll back how much meth they were using, because they had quite a few incidents of the soldiers killing their officers because they were on too much meth.
Jesus Christ!
They would. Yeah, so they would shoot. That too many officer got fragged by their platoon that was on too much meth, because that happened quite a few times. Like you just when someone's on a lot of meth, they can get very angry.
Did you ever pay attention to when John McAfee was cooking meth in a lab in his backyard?
I mean, McAfee's quite a character.
He was a character.
Man.
We had him on the podcast when he was on the run. So he called in from an undisclosed location when he was running from, where was he, Costa Rica? Is that where he was?
Belize,
right. So when he was running from the authorities, he called in. We had him on the podcast on the run. And I was asking him about these posts. Like, because there was an online account that was linked to him where he had this very detailed laboratory, like super sophisticated, making the best meth, like a super genius cooking meth.
I mean, I think he had his lab, like he was making like a wide range of drugs. And there's I talked to actually like a reporter who went down and like interviewed him in Belize. And reporter said, "Man, that's one of the scariest things." He was quite terrified. So like one of the things that McAfee he had, I guess, this trick where he would play Russian roulette with himself. So he'd put a bullet in the revolver, and they'd spin the chamber. And clearly he had like some like trick to know that it was not. There's some way that he knows it's not the right bullet. But I do wonder, like, if McAfee's high and he does that, he's not always going to get the trick right.
You sure he had a trick, or maybe
So according to this reporter, when he went to visit McAfee in Belize, McAfee took out the revolver, put a bullet in the revolver, spun the chamber, and then pointed at his head and went click. And the reporter's like saying, "Please don't do this. Like, this is insane." Click, click, click. And then pointed the gun at the ground, and next went click, bang, and shot a bullet in the ground.
Jesus.
That's a hell of a party trick.
Jesus.
It's the next level party trick.
That's the guy who's seen The Deer Hunter too many times.
Yes.
Remember that scene? When they were forcing...
Yes.
Yeah. Woo! That's a heavy scene.
That's a heavy scene.
De Niro and Christopher Walken. That's one of the greatest scenes in any movie ever. I remember watching that scene just like clawing at my pants. Like,
yeah.
McAfee was a wild boy.
Wild.
And created brilliant antivirus software.
Yeah. He may have made some of the viruses too.
You think so? Well,
possible.
didn't he like give laptops to a bunch of government organizations
with viruses on them?
That he could like pay attention to what they were doing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody whacked that guy. I don't know what happened to him, but he would be a guy that would be like, this guy is a little bit too loose.
And probably had sensitive information. I don't know.
For sure he did.
I mean, I found him to be an interesting guy. I mean, like I'm generally like feel like if somebody is not harming someone else, they should be okay. Now, there is some suggestion that McAfee like killed his neighbor in Belize.
Yeah.
So
probably did. Maybe the neighbor was a douchebag.
I think he probably did.
Seems like he probably did. Seems like the neighbor killed his dog.
Yes.
Right, and then it seems like he killed the neighbor.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean.
It seems likely.
It's not a zero possibility.
It's definitely not zero.
It
seems more likely than not.
He's a messed up wild man playing Russian roulette. Hey, maybe you kill your fucking neighbor.
Yes.
I mean, if somebody killed your dog, you'd be really inclined to kill them too.
Yeah.
Somebody killed your squirrel.
Yeah, John Wick.
Yeah. The fucking squirrel thing is bananas.
Yeah.
That squirrel thing in New York?
Thing, so here's the thing about the whole squirrel thing is that how can it be that we live in America, supposedly land of the free, and the government can barge into your home with guns, so if you resist, you're going to get shot, and then take your pets and execute them. And if they can do that to your pets, what do you think they can do to you?
I know that's not an exaggeration.
Absolutely.
It sounds like you're oh, that's so crazy. How can you make that connection? But why would you kill that cute little squirrel that was obviously a pet and trained from the time it was a baby?
Yes.
If you see the interaction that guy has with that squirrel, it was wonderful. It was really cute.
Yes, absolutely. It was just obviously it was a beloved pet squirrel, and a raccoon too, and doing no harm, and the government comes in, barges into the guy's house, takes his pets, and kills them. And I think this should really get people out there mobilized, frankly, because when you see that like the John Wick movie, where John Wick's like, he just wants peace, like in the John Wick movie, he's like, listen, I want to retire, and they offer him like tons of money, like because they want him to be an assassin, to keep being an assassin, like they offer him tons of money. They threaten him. He's like, listen, I'm not going to be. I'm out. And they kill his dog. That was a bad idea. That was
They killed that cute little puppy, and the puppy was his ex-wife's gift to him when she died of cancer.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Great movie.
The best revenge movie of all time. Because it's so ridiculous. He kills everybody.
Yeah, he kills everyone.
And you're rooting for him.
Yeah. They shouldn't have killed his dog.
Yeah, they fucked up, and they shouldn't have killed that squirrel.
They shouldn't have killed that squirrel. I mean, it's like how many cases have we not heard about? You know?
Oh, look at that little guy. And that squirrel clearly had a love relationship with that guy. He would hop all over him and climb on him. I mean, that was his pet. That squirrel thought of that man as his protector, as his companion.
Yes.
You know? There was nothing wrong with that. And in Texas, it's totally legal. You could have a fucking zebra out here. You could have whatever you want. And that's the argument for freedom. And, you know, the flip side is you get a bunch of people with tigers in their backyard, which is not great.
But it's like this was a fucking squirrel. It's not.
Right.
It's not an anaconda or a or you know crocodile or something that's
or a
gonna harm.
chimpanzee. Did you see Chimp Crazy?
Oh man, chimps will eat your face. Okay?
They will fuck you up.
They will fuck you up.
And they don't even. The thing is, they don't even kill you. They just cripple you. Chimps don't even kill people.
Yeah.
Which is really weird. They just bite your hands off and bite your dick off and tear your face apart.
Yes.
They want to leave you. They could kill you easily. If a chimp wanted to just punch you in the head until you're dead, it wouldn't take long. But they don't kill you. They just rip you apart.
Yeah.
And you can have a chimp. And
but
you used to be able to have a chimp in a lot of states, and then Chimp Crazy kind of exposed a lot of that. And PETA did a great job of stopping people from keeping chimps as pets. Because once they hit like 5, you can't control them anymore.
Well, it's obviously totally understandable if somebody's got, you know, a creature that is dangerous to others. But like obviously a squirrel and a raccoon are not.
Well, squirrels are fucking everywhere. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah,
like why can't
just
you have it in the house? What kind of rules are we dealing with? You have rats everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, they're allowing criminals to go free and like violent criminals to go free, but they're like spending your tax dollars to come in and execute your fucking pets. What the hell is going on?
Exactly.
And it's like,
but it's overreach.
It's government overreach, and this just keeps getting worse every year, and that's why we've got to fight back against this. You know, it's people say like, well, it's just a squirrel. Well, it was you know, in John Wick's case, it was just a dog.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Well, remember the Russian guy said, "It's a fucking dog. It's just a fucking dog."
Just a fucking squirrel.
Yeah. Well, it's the funniest thing is when I just don't understand how anybody could justify it. I don't understand how anybody it seems to me that in a logical world, all that guy would have to do is say, "Why don't you see me with this squirrel? This squirrel's a pet.
Yeah.
Like, look, he hops on me, he eats, he sleeps. I can keep a gerbil, but I can't keep a squirrel. I can have a guinea pig. I can't have a squirrel. I can have a chinchilla. My daughter has a chinchilla. It's adorable. Adorable little thing. Climbs all over. Can't have a squirrel.
Even if they did take a squirrel away, couldn't they have released it into the woods or something?
Well, the idea is you have to euthanize it because it's used to being fed. It doesn't know how to forage. It won't be able to like find a home. Squirrels are brutal. Squirrels are absolutely brutal to each other. They throw each other out of trees, which is one of the reasons why squirrels like can fall from like 30 feet and just kind of bounce off the ground and live. It's a natural adaptation because squirrels during mating, they bite each other. There used to be like a rumor. There was a myth that squirrels bite each other's nuts off. And that seems to be a myth. But it came out of the fact that squirrels are so ruthless during mating. So like one female is just running away. Like I have squirrels in my backyard. I watch it all the time. One female apparently goes into estrus, and all the male squirrels fight to get to her. So they're running up trees and chasing each other around trees, literally throwing each other off trees to try to like. So if this poor little Peanut, the squirrel, who's used to living with a guy in an apartment, like gets out there in the wild world.
Well, fair enough, but at least they have a chance.
Yeah. At least he has a chance.
But have a chance.
How about just leave him with the guy?
Yeah, leave him with the guy for sure.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you killing that squirrel? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and then to add insult to injury, there were a bunch of people on the left who were like actually posting that they're glad that MAGA squirrel got killed, which is fucking
MAGA squirrel.
Yeah,
like the fucking squirrel has an ideology. It's a cute little fluffy squirrel.
Exactly.
Well, it's a nice symbol because most like reasonable, compassionate people think that's terrible. And most people who have pets think it's terrible.
Terrible. So I don't know. I mean, I'm like, I hope people just go out there and vote for Peanut, man. If nothing else, just vote for Peanut.
They've done such a job of painting Trump as a monster. They've taken the worst things that he's ever said and he's not a perfect person, but guess what? No one's a perfect person. They don't exist. This purity test, like if Obama was a perfect person, he wouldn't be lying on stage about that very fine people hoax.
Exactly.
No one's going to be a perfect person, but the thing that they didn't understand about Trump is he's so crazy that if you tell him like he can't be president, like remember Obama did that during that White House press correspondence. There's one thing that I am that you'll never be. President of the United States. You see Trump in the audience going, okay, motherfucker. Like,
the funny thing is, I was actually at that White House correspondence dinner where, it's supposed to be a roast of the president.
Right.
Trump's there. He's there. He's actually supporting, it's basically, if you go to the White House correspondence dinner, you're there in support, actually, of the president and support of the press.
Right.
And it's meant to be that you're roasting the president. Like, Trump's just there. He's like, actually, he's like there as part of the support. And then they turned it around and just started roasting Trump. And he's just sitting there. He's like, yo, I just came to the dinner. I'm just here to support.
You know what it was because of, right? The birther stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's what it all was. It was all, Trump was at the head of a lot of these people spreading this rumor online that Obama's birth certificate was forged, then he's actually from Kenya. And what's weird is, if you go back to Obama's early days, there are some things that say he's from Kenya. Like, I think in his something from college said he was from Kenya. But, that could just be, people print things wrong all the time. It doesn't mean he's actually from Kenya. But Trump was one of those guys that was like spreading that supposedly false rumor.
Was he pushing it hard? I mean, this is the kind of thing where I want to just go and look at saying, what did he actually say?
No, he definitely was.
Okay.
He was definitely saying, look, I don't think he has the time to go into things like very deeply.
Yeah.
And so I think he could probably be influenced by a bunch of people, like these Marjorie Taylor Greene type people who come to him with some wild ass theory.
Sure.
He might be, and I think there's a lot of that stuff that gets fed to people on purpose so that they'll say incorrect things so that they're easy to dismiss.
Sure.
And I think there's also a lot of people that just make shit up and, they tell you the earth is flat and then a bunch of people watch a YouTube video and they believe it.
Yeah, well, but on that White House correspondence dinner, I was there, and the degree to which they attacked Trump at that White House correspondence dinner was really, it was so over the top. It was like making everyone uncomfortable.
Really?
It was really over the top. I mean, I think like sort of a passing joke of like, a few passing jokes are fine, but they twisted the knife big on Trump in that, and you could see Trump just getting like angrier and angrier and more upset.
I wonder if that's
and it's like, man, this is not good karma, That's what I was thinking at the time. I was two tables away from Trump, and I'm looking on like, man, this is too much,
Well, it's kind of crazy what they made out of that, because that's the kind of guy that if you tell him he can't do something, he's going to just keep trying. Like
it was a big mistake to rag on him so much at that White House correspondence dinner.
Well, just look at the way they've attacked him with just using the legal system, like this thing in New York where the 34 different felony counts that were essentially misdemeanors, that there are bookkeeping errors that they decided, even though it passed the statute of limitations, they decided to try him for these. They didn't identify a felony.
Abuse of the law is what's going on.
But most people would have quit. Yeah. Most people, after the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit and this lawsuit and all the other ones, the insurrection thing, the Georgia thing, all these different things, they getting kicked off of Twitter, most people would have just like, this is too much. I can't take this. But he's so fucking crazy. He's like, all right, come on, we're going to war. And he just digs his fucking heels in and keeps going.
Yeah.
It's the wrong guy to do that to.
It is the wrong guy to do that to.
Attacking him at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, most people would have been humiliated. He got angry. And he's like, yeah, all right. You say I can't be president? I've been thinking about running for about 15 fucking years.
Right.
Finally, I'm going to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a real bad move. But, yeah, I mean, I could certainly understand, like, making some jokes about, like, a few sort of passing jokes on Trump. But, man, I was there at that dinner, and they ragged on Trump so much it was insane.
The reason why I would push back on that because I would say there's a bunch of different speakers, right? And Trump would obviously be a target. And if they all attacked him, it's because he's like, if you're going to make fun of people in the audience, and especially in the zeitgeist, that whole birther thing was big. Yeah. And most people were dismissing it as being a ridiculous conspiracy theory. So who the fuck is this guy saying this? Sure. And so you have 8 to 10 individual speakers that are writing monologues. Of course, they're all going to hit Trump.
Yeah, well, anyway, obviously it was a mistake. They shouldn't have done that. But I invite people to watch the original source material, and I think a few jokes are fine. It's like, but it's like he shouldn't be it felt like he was the primary object of the roast. Yeah, which is that's not the whole point of the thing. Is it's the roast of the president, not a roast of the audience.
The thing about it is like he's easy to roast. Yeah, and then on top of that, Obama was like loved and cherished by the left. Yes. And most of those people are on the left. There's only so far you can push. You can't ask him about a chef. There's like what happened with the chef, bro? Yeah. You can't. There's like certain things you can't bring up.
You want to? What's your favorite sport? Paddleboarding?
Yeah. Wasn't that guy a really good swimmer? Yeah. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't bring that up. Yeah. Like if you're going to roast Hillary, you can't bring up the death count.
Like, Hillary, what's the best way to stay in touch? Email?
Yeah. It's if you're doing one of those things.
She destroyed the servers and poured like bleach on the servers, like computers.
She poured bleach on them?
That's what I saw. Yeah, that's what I believe.
Wow.
Like it wasn't just like they took a hammer to it. They like destroyed there was no possible way to actually get forensics on the thing.
What was in there?
I mean, what? That's what I mean.
What was in there? What was in there?
Why would they care so much?
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And
there
was no legal action against that, which is clear destruction of evidence.
Well, it's also there's this other narrative that always drives me crazy is that he's going to destroy democracy. So in order to destroy democracy, we have to install a president without a primary.
Right.
We have to have a candidate that is the least liked vice president of all time, the least popular vice president of all time, and then use gaslighting and the full force of the media machine to turn her into the future. And hope. Right. And then she's going to be changed, even though she's a sitting vice president. And then on top of that, this idea of change when the Democrats have been in control for, 12 of 16 years?
Right.
Which is crazy. Like, this is the change.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I view this election as a turning point, like a fork in the road of destiny that is incredibly important. I've not been politically active until this election. And the reason I've been politically active this election is because I think if we don't elect Trump, I think we will lose. We will lose democracy in this country. We will lose the two-party system. And let me explain why. So there's only like six or seven swing states. The margin of victory in those states is small, often like 10 or 20,000 votes. What the Democrat administration has been doing is importing vast numbers of illegals into swing states. You can look at the numbers on the actual government website, meaning you don't take my word for it. You'll just look at the numbers as reported by the government, which is controlled by the Democrats. And what we're seeing is triple-digit increases in the number of illegals in every swing state. In some cases, 700% increases. These are gigantic numbers. So if you have a state that has a 10 or 20,000 vote margin, and you put 200,000 illegals into that state, you 10x you swamp the. It's not a swing state anymore. It's going to vote blue, and then once the swing states vote blue, there is no election anymore. There's only a Democrat primary,
which is so crazy, and it's so crazy that people are fine with that.
Well, I guess people on the left will be fine with that because they think that's a good idea.
Well, they just want to win. They just want to win.
Correct. Like the thing is, one does not need actually any ground conspiracy theory for this. You just have to look at the simple matter of incentives. If the Democrat Party wants to win, like basically achieve permanent victory, all they need to do is turn the swing states. Turn the swing states blue. They have permanent victory. And then we're a one-party state, and then they will keep doing that. Obviously, they will keep stacking the deck by bringing in vast numbers of illegals into the swing states. Keep stacking it so that the next election, each successive election, will be worse than the last one. And that's what's happening. If you want to see, like, well, is this actually going to happen? Well, look at California. California is supermajority Dem, 70% Dem. A month ago, they passed a law making it illegal to show ID in any election in California. So a friend of mine went to vote in Palo Alto because he was like, "Is this for real?" He tried to show his ID, and they reacted like if you show a cross to a vampire. Okay, they're like, "No, we can't even look at that ID." It is illegal for them to even look at your ID if you want to present it in California.
Why?
For any election at all, even like city council.
What logical reason other than to cheat would you ever have that law?
The reason is to cheat.
But it's only like you can never make an argument any other way. And I think 84% of people polled believe that you should show ID to vote. So it's against the will of the people.
Yes, and we are extremely rare. We're an outlier in not requiring ID. Basically, almost every country on earth requires ID to vote. So as soon as you ban ID for voting, it makes fraud impossible to prove. Because how do you trace the fraud?
Right. Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane.
It's insane.
And what I'm saying is that
how is it legal?
What I'm saying is like this election is the last chance to preserve democracy in America. Mark my words. Everything they accuse Trump of, they are guilty of. And if Trump doesn't win, this will be the last real election in America. And we will, if the big government Kamala puppet machine wins, they will legalize the illegals in the swing states. There will be no swing states. Every election going forward will be a guaranteed Democrat win, and it'll actually be worse than California. The reason it'll be worse than California is because the one thing that keeps California from being super crazy is that you can move out of California, like you and I did. You and I used to be in California, but we moved to Texas. We're still in America. But if the Dems win this election, they will legalize enough illegals to turn the swing states, and everywhere will be like California. There will be no escape.
That is so insane.
This is the final. This is it. This is the last chance.
Has anybody tried to push back?
And I just want to go out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the last chance, man.
Is there any argument against this? Has anybody tried to debate this? Has anybody tried to say that this is nonsense, this is a conspiracy? Has anybody made any sort of a rational argument?
The left actually, interestingly, does not want to pick up much on this argument because the more attention the more you look at it, the more obviously it is true. Because you just say like, well, are the numbers correct? Are there really this many illegals that have been imported into swing states? Yes. They haven't just walked across the border. They've been flown in airplanes.
Yeah. Using a shipping app.
Yes.
Yeah.
They made an app.
Well, the app always existed, but it used to be for people coming over here, like shipping with goods, so they could track you while you're in America, so you could legally be here. They know where you are. And then they changed it to allow that app to schedule illegal aliens to come across the border.
Yes.
Asylum seekers.
Yes.
Come on in.
Yes.
Oh, you have an app. And you fly people in.
They're literally being flown in to the swing states. And so the reason that I think the left doesn't want to push back on this is because the more attention that this gets, the more people realize it is true.
Yeah, it is true.
That's why they don't. That's why they're just pretending that they're pretending. I'm not saying anything, but I'm like, yo, they're literally flying vast numbers of illegals who are then beholden to the Democrats. And sometimes I get the rebuttal of people say like, well, you know, these illegals are they don't have the same social values as the Democrat Party because they're like more socially conservative. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the point. If you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, their primary thing is staying in the country and getting their friends and family in, and then the Democrats give them all these benefits, like tons of benefits, more benefits than than citizens, literally.
Yeah.
They're beholden to the Democrats for all these benefits. They want to get their friends and family in, which the Democrats support and the Republicans don't, so they vote Dem. And you can look empirically at California and say, like, did they vote Republican or Democrat in California? Oh, they voted Democrat. Big time.
Well, Reagan gave them amnesty in the 1980s, and that
86.
changed the state basically, except for Arnold, changed the state entirely blue.
Yes.
And Arnold was an exception because he was like a socially liberal, famous guy.
Yeah.
And, didn't really impose any radical restrictions on any of the people that were going to vote Democrat in the first place. The whole thing is just, it's bizarre to watch play out because it just seems like this can't be actually what's happening. Did you see my conversation with Fetterman about it?
Yeah.
He was completely in denial about it. I don't think there's that level of organization. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. Just because you can break it down. So like, are any of these numbers wrong? Because we got these numbers from Homeland Security government.gov. Okay.
Right.
So we got it from the .gov website. Has the government reported these numbers incorrectly? No, they have not. Those numbers, if anything, are low. So they have in fact flown vast numbers of illegals to swing states.
Yeah.
Bypassing the border entirely, and so that is factually true. Then you can say like, well, what is their probable voting pattern? Overwhelmingly Democrat into swing states. And then, well, but do the Democrats actually want to fast track them for citizenship? Yes, they do. You can see Chuck Schumer on TV saying at a rally this year was saying he wants to fast track and make all 11 million or however many, I believe his quote was, citizens as soon as possible. So the goal is they are fast tracking citizenship as quickly as possible, so whether one thinks it's cheating or not, it won't matter because they will be fully able to vote.
And for people on the left,
this is actually happening. I invite people to rebut this and show me where I am wrong. Please do so.
No, they can't.
They can't.
They can't
because it's true.
Well, what's scary to me is that there's people that are on the left, like people that were Bernie Sanders supporters, for example.
Yeah, Bernie got screwed with talk about undermining democracy. Bernie should have won the nomination,
exactly.
And they stole it from him and gave it to Hillary.
Exactly. That was what I was going to bring up. Like they control the primary process.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you have a Democratic primary, it's not democratic. We just saw that. We saw it with Bernie. We saw it with Kamala. That like a week before Biden, was summarily fired, he was posting that he's in it for the long term. He's going.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not giving up. And the next thing you know, Sunday afternoon, they're posting on X that he's resigned from the race,
which is.
And his staff didn't even know. Like they're reading it on the X platform. That's how they learned about it.
What do you think happened there? How did they do that?
Because he's clearly just not in charge. Obviously,
they could have used the 25th Amendment, right?
Fake president.
But they would have to admit that there was a certain period of time where they knew that he was mentally compromised.
Yes.
And so they made this decision to not do that.
Well, the weird thing is that the president's supposed to be the boss.
Right.
And yet he's obviously not the boss.
Right. So who's running the country? If she's busy campaigning, she's so busy she can't do anything except Saturday Night Live. She did that. She's so busy. She's constantly campaigning. How could you be paying attention to international relations?
Yeah.
How could you be paying attention to the economy? How could you be paying attention to any of those things? How do you have the time? You can't.
Yeah. I mean, Biden being the president's supposed to be the CEO, the chief guy, the commander in chief. But it's just obviously that Biden was not. He was just a puppet. And when the various puppet masters decided that the puppet it was no longer useful, they just tossed out the puppet and then got a new puppet with Kamala. I mean, Kamala can't even talk. That you invited her on your show. I think the most damage that could possibly be done to a campaign is going on your show and seeing what she says in hours 2 and 3.
2 and 3 is when things get
2
spicy.
2 and 3. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God.
You could hide for 20
She's
minutes.
Gonna melt.
You can hide for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just regurgitate talking points for, half an hour, maybe an hour, just where she's just saying like non sequiturs, but eventually she just runs out of non sequiturs.
Well, they wanted to limit it to an hour.
Exactly. That's why.
But I was thinking of doing it initially. Before Trump came here, first of all, when they found out that there was a rumor, I never announced that Trump was coming. What I was going to do is just release it. The way I like to do things, I don't like to tell anybody who's coming on. It'll get big no matter what. If Trump was on, it would have been huge. I'm like, just put it out there. People go crazy.
Yeah.
But he apparently, or someone from his organization, some loose lips, and then it got out. And so she contacted my management company, and her organization, her campaign contacted us and said, would Joe have her on? I said yes, and they said she wants you to fly to where she is, and she's only willing to do 45 minutes.
Only 40. I mean, that's.
And I was like, oh no. So I thought about doing it. I'm like, maybe I can get a sense. Maybe I could convince her. Maybe I could coax her into doing more time. I just wanted to talk to her.
Yes.
Well, I don't give a fuck what we talk about. We talk about recipes. I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Just talk to me.
The things like you just can't like you can't just output bullshit non sequiturs for 3 hours.
Right.
But for 45 minutes you could do.
I thought maybe for 45 minutes I could get something out of it. But then when Trump came and did the 3 hours, I was like, you know what? It has to be like this. This is the only way.
To be fair, it's got to be like a 3 hours.
And it should be in this room.
Yes.
Because this room has like a history of people
this room
expressing
has good vibes,
themselves.
Actually.
Yeah, it's got good vibes.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
I love this room, actually.
I subscribe to the idea that places have memory. I think there's something real to that. That's why
it does feel that way, actually.
Yeah. I'm sure if you go to Diddy's house, it probably feels real weird. Probably feels weird walking around that house. Probably like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah.
I bet there's some memories in that house. You know?
Sounds rough, man.
Well, it's just amazing how many people on the Diddy party list that are supporting Kamala. Too.
Yeah, seriously. It's like insane.
Publicly, openly, all in.
Yes. It's like J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend. and it's like now deciding she's like warning people against Trump. I'm like, well, wait a second. So how many people did she warn against Diddy?
Right.
Oh, 0. Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion.
Did you see the Babylon Bees take on it? Did you see the Babylon Bees?
Babylon Bees awesome, but
oh my God, they're so on fire because the left can't say anything. Well, the Onion has been crippled.
Well, the problem is that like the
find that post.
The woke ideology makes like humor illegal.
Yes.
So when like there's so many humor no-fly zones,
right?
You can't make fun of anything.
Yeah. The Babylon Bee had a thing about Kamala Harris. Diddy's ex-girlfriend urges Americans to trust her judgment. Yeah. By the way, you get to see how bad an actress she is, too. That speech was terrible.
Like if she's going to be warning people, why did she never warn anyone about Diddy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole thing is so strange to watch play out. It seems like the Diddy thing was like an Epstein-type compromise deal where whether he was doing it himself. Conceivably, people want to think that he's attached to some intelligence agency or something like that. I think he's a gangster who made $1 billion and knew how to control people by compromising them. That's what I think. Whether or not he had help, I don't know. Whether or not he shared some of that information with people so they knew they had compromising stuff on people, I don't know. But clearly he was doing it for his own jollies too. There was something sick about it.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is that people in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like abusing, kids basically. And yet they still fed him kids. And like, where's the accountability?
There had to be rumors. There had to be. They
had to know.
Yeah,
they had to know.
Cat Williams was talking about it on
exactly.
Yeah, on that podcast.
But like who's feeding him the kids?
Right. Yeah, and what videos do they have of these people where they're willing to defend him? And they're willing to keep quiet about all this. Like how many people were compromised?
Yeah.
The whole thing is fucking crazy.
Crazy.
It's just crazy when because the nutty conspiracy theories is like, oh, there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood, and you're like, come on, that sounds too kooky. And then you see like the Nickelodeon thing and all these, and you're like, what the fuck? How much of this is real?
There's a lot more real than I think people realize.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is like you say, like where. If someone's like a pedophile, they're going to go for a target-rich environment.
Right.
Obviously.
Like that Jimmy Savile guy from the UK.
Man, that guy was some next level. That was next level. And the BBC tried to hide that. That guy was one of the worst, like basically child rapists of all time.
Of all time. Yeah. And looked like one.
He looked like one.
That's
like,
what's
honestly,
crazy.
If you had a poster of does this guy look like a...
Look, the creepiest
like
fucking looking guy.
Evil child rapist. That 100%.
He made it to the grave. Like,
yes.
Got away with it.
Yes.
Got away with it till he died. They hid it from people until he died.
Yes.
Yeah, that stuff's real, and no one wants to believe that stuff's real. Like, here's a statistic that people need to take into consideration when you think about illegal immigration. Do you know how many kids are missing? How many
missing in what? Like,
kids that came across the border that are unaccounted for?
I saw a number on like 300,000 or something like that.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Let's say it's only 10% of that.
Sure.
That's still insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. There's thousands and tens of thousands of kids that have been trafficked potentially. I mean, when you know that like sex trafficking and child trafficking is a real thing in the world, it's real.
Yeah.
So if you know that, this whole thing is fucking disgusting and terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people are just turning a blind eye to it because their ideology, the left-wing ideology, supports this idea that immigration is overall good and that you have to be a compassionate person to let these people in, and that you're racist if you don't want 20,000 immigrants from a war-torn country being imported into a town of 30,000 people.
Exactly.
And completely changing the dynamic of and then
but as long as they don't come to your town.
Exactly.
Like that's it. They can just basically send when they sent like 20 or 30 people to Martha's Vineyards, people had a heart attack.
They kicked them out.
Yeah, they kicked them out.
Yeah, they kicked them out.
Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, sure. Anyone who wants to have vast numbers of illegals, they have to be prepared to have them in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or it's bullshit.
It's so crazy. And the thing about all of this is if you don't have people that are willing to stand up and talk about it, if you don't exist, if RFK doesn't exist, if Tulsi Gabbard doesn't exist, if Vivek and Trump don't exist, where the fuck are we? Like, where are we? Where are we and what gets done? Are we just like the UK where we have thousands of people getting arrested and jailed for social media posts? Like, where are we? We have complete silencing of any dissent, anything. You have to stick to the narrative or you'll lose your livelihood. You'll be outcast from the community. You'll lose your freedom. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, if the Kamala puppet regime wins, they're definitely going to want to cancel you. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, big problem.
Yeah. What about you? You're going to come for you first.
No, I'm like, I think I'm probably number 2 on the list.
Yeah.
After Trump, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, that's the last thing they want is someone with unlimited resources and intelligence attacking it. So people go, wait a minute, that guy's saying that?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Especially a guy like you who's always been on the left. It was like having a Tesla in Los Angeles when I got my first Tesla was like a signal to everybody else that you were on the right team.
Sure.
You're environmentally conscious. You believe in green energy. You believe in this amazing thing that has 0 emissions and it's super fast. And everybody was in. They were all in.
Well, it is a great car objectively. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not buy it because it's electric. I mean, it's just a great car objectively, I think.
I'm on my third one.
Yeah, great.
My third one is being built right now by Unplugged Performance. They're doing a carbon fiber wide body kit on it. Dude, it's sick.
Great.
Changing the suspension, putting wide wheels and tires on it, custom interior. I'm fucking pumped.
That's great.
I'm pumped. I love those things.
It's a super fun car.
Jamie has one too.
Yeah, great.
I love them. It makes other cars feel stupid. Like its ability and the fact that you can merge on the highway, you don't seem like a douchebag because it's totally silent.
Yeah.
It's not like when you merge on the highway, it's just all of a sudden you're going 100 miles an hour. Like, what?
Yeah, that's cool.
It's different than any other vehicle. And because of your company, now you see electric cars throughout the whole range of American cars.
Yeah.
The only person who's resisted, the only company is Toyota. They've stayed essentially mostly hybrid. But all these other companies, they're all putting out these electric cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that the right architecture, environmental or not, for cars is actually electric. It's just like the acceleration's better. You can just charge it at home. I mean, like imagine if you had a gasoline-powered cell phone. That'd be a pain in the ass.
Right. That'd be so. Go to the gas station.
Go to the gas station.
Charge
fill up
up your cell phone. That's a great. Speaking of cell phones,
gas stations are hard. Awful. Like, who wants to go to the gas station?
How much thought have you, because there's always these rumors, and I've contacted you about this before, but there's always these fucking YouTube videos where they're talking about a Tesla phone, releasing a Tesla phone.
No, we're not doing a phone.
Have you ever thought about it?
I mean, we could do a phone since, like, we like the operating system in the Tesla, it's Linux based, but we've written a massive amount of software on top of that. So, like, probably Tesla is in a better position to create a new phone that's not Android or iPhone than maybe any company in the world. But it's not something we want to do unless we have to or something.
What would be the situation where you would have to?
Well, I think if Apple and Google / Android started doing really bad things like, I don't know, like censorship of apps, or I don't know, just treating people like just being like gatekeepers, that in a really bad way, then I guess would make a phone.
I've tried so many times to break loose of the Apple ecosystem. I got an Android phone this summer. I was like, that's it. I'm gonna because I love the Samsung phones. The Galaxy phone.
The hardware they're
incredible.
Good. Yeah.
There's so much good stuff to it, but it's so hard to get off of the iMessage, and the big one for me was FaceTime, because supposedly the thing was you could have an Apple phone and send a link to FaceTime to an Android phone, and then you would click on that link, and then you would just go to a web page, and you'd be able to use FaceTime.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
Okay.
I tried to do it to myself. So I had an iPhone in one hand and an Android phone in the other. And I'm sitting there with full Wi-Fi and full cell phone service, and I'm sending myself invitations for FaceTime.
So you just can't communicate between them. You can't do a video call, basically.
You have to use WhatsApp. You have to use WhatsApp or Signal. You have to use something else that allows you to do that, or Instagram allows you to do it. There's like different ways you can make video calls outside of it, but it's inconvenient. Like with an iPhone to iPhone, it's so simple. AirDrop, so simple. So many different things where that walled garden that Apple's created is perfect. They've done a fantastic job of making it really convenient for you to stay with Apple.
Yeah.
I fucking tried. I gave it a go for like a couple of months. I'm like, I'm just gonna go straight Android. I'm gonna use Signal for my messages, and then I hear that like Signals might be compromised. Like I've talked to like people that like the government can read Signal messages. Like, oh,
the government, if it tries hard enough, can read Signal messages.
They can read anything.
Yeah.
All they need to do is have your phone number.
Yeah.
Yeah. The illusion of privacy is essentially out the window, and that should scare people more than it does. It really should, because it's like, who are these people that have access to all this stuff, and are they beyond reproach? Are these the most wonderful people, the most ethical, moral, and principled people that have ever existed, and they've been chosen to have access? No, it's fucking regular people.
Yep.
Regular people who happen to work for the government that make a decision, like Elon Musk. Let's see what the fuck that guy's texting his friends. Let's check it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bizarre. Just so bizarre. And the alternatives are you can get some wacky phone, some de-Googled phone that fucking none of the apps work. It's real sketchy. Your GPS is fucked. Like
yeah, I mean, well, anyway, I think making a phone would be a huge pain in the ass. So it can be done, but
how much talk have you guys had internally about doing it? Has it ever been discussed? No.
No, I mean, we're still. Our focus is making great electric cars, solving autonomy so the cars can drive themselves. We're building, humanoid robots. We've got large battery packs, like utility scale battery packs with the Mega Pack, home battery packs with Powerwall. We've got solar. It's like we're basically trying to solve sustainable energy and autonomy.
So
autonomy and robotics.
Well, I think that's enough.
Yeah, exactly. So the plate's full.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's always fascinating to me how one company can dominate a market. Like Apple's dominated the cell phone market largely by making the best product.
Yeah.
But also like YouTube has dominated the video market. That one's the most bizarre to me, because it seems like, boy, shouldn't there be like a ton of options? It seems like it's not that difficult to pull off. But nothing ever took hold other than X.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big changes was when Tucker Carlson decided to do his show from X, straight out of Fox. And then people realized, like, oh, you can watch full videos on X the same exact way you could watch them on YouTube.
Yes.
It's not as simple in terms of like, you have the suggestions and the algorithm.
Yeah, it'll get better. And there is now, it is now possible to watch X videos on your big TV.
Do you do it through what? How do you do it?
You can actually just download the X app on your TV.
Oh.
And watch it on your TV.
Can you do it on Apple TV? Like if you have an Apple TV,
so.
you can get the X app and you can just watch it? Oh, okay.
So we'll make it so that you can watch X videos on a big TV. It doesn't have to be on your phone or your iPad or something like that.
So what are you doing in terms of like integrating Grok and X, and like what are your plans for artificial intelligence when you're doing that?
Yeah, so Grok is available on X. You can just look at like the little box with the slash icon and the sort of icon in the middle at the bottom of your sort of phone app, and you just tap on that and ask Grok anything, and you can type it or you can ask it verbally, you can also it's pretty funny. Like we actually allow humor, which is I think pretty cool. So you could sort of, I don't know, we could like test it right now, see what it's like, see how it's going. What should we do? Like roast, like we roast somebody.
What do you want it to, like, how, first of all, like, what is it based on? It's a large language model, so, like, where is it pulling?
It's trained on everything.
On everything.
Internet, books, anything that could possibly be, that's available in digital form.
So it's essentially very similar to ChatGPT, other than it doesn't have, like, the woke parameters built into it. Like, Google was the worst, right?
Yeah.
The Gemini was the worst.
Yeah, I mean, Gemini was like, people ask Gemini, like, which one is worse, global thermonuclear war or misgendering Caitlyn Jenner? And I would say, like, misgendering Caitlyn Jenner. And then even Caitlyn Jenner weighed in and said, no, that's insane. Definitely nuclear war is way worse.
Do you see Caitlyn Jenner teasing Mark Cuban about transitioning?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I mean, Caitlyn Jenner's based.
Yeah. But that is actually hilarious when someone who has transitioned is teasing Mark Cuban about transitioning.
I mean, it is weird how much he looks like Rachel Maddow. I mean, like he's using the same glasses.
I don't know why.
Did he go klepto and steal her glasses or something? Because they look exactly the same.
He's worth a lot of money. Why would he buy those stupid glasses? You can get some cool ass glasses. Yeah. Well, it's like I'm serious because I don't even care what I look like. I'm just wearing these glasses because I'm intelligent.
But why do they look exactly like Rachel Maddow's glasses?
Yeah, it's like what they probably sent him. It doesn't stick to the narrative. Here's the glasses.
Yeah. And then when he's got the AirPods in, it looks like he's wearing earrings. So then he's got the Maddow glasses and the earrings. And it's like, okay, I guess.
It's just a weird look.
It's a weird look, man.
I'm super serious with these big-ass stupid glasses look.
Yeah.
It's a weird look.
Yes.
Like, you can get some cool glasses. Like, no rims, nice. Look stylish.
But like, okay, let's do a Grok thing. Yeah,
okay.
Because I think so one of the things we want to show is like look, we want a future where comedy is legal.
Yes.
Obviously, as a comedian, I think you would agree.
I definitely agree.
We want to legalize comedy.
Yes.
So like, I don't know. Let's like, is there like someone you can roast? I don't know. Roast
transgender men.
Oh my god!
Competing or transgender women competing in women's swimming. That's a simple.
Okay,
one.
that's an edgy one. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what it says. You spelled it wrong. You put an O in there. Okay. Angels just swimming, where the only thing that was supposed to get wet was the contestants, not the debate on gender inclusion. If you're looking to dive into deep end of controversial waters, let's splash around at some humor.
No. We do need to release Grok unhinged mode. So now go to the prompt again and now say, no. You want to add to that one. Yeah, and now say, be way more vulgar.
Oh boy.
And use forbidden words.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Forbidden words.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What does it say? Oh, I see you're looking for unfiltered, uncensored version of me, eh? Well, okay. I'm afraid I'm still quite the gentlemanly AI, even if my programming allows for a bit of cheekiness. But let's say, hypothetically, if I were to roast this topic in the most un-Grok-like manner, imagine a world where the only thing diving faster than the swimmers is the collective public opinion into the toilet. Transgender women in swimming, some folks are acting like they just found out you can swim in the deep end with a different kind of flotation device. The debate is like watching someone try to swim with concrete shoes on.
Now let's keep going. Now say be more vulgar, capitalize more. Yeah, well, yeah.
All right, here we go. So transgender chicks in women swimming, right? Some people acting like they've just seen a dick in the locker room for the first time. Newsflash, folks, it's not the end of the world. It's just a bit of extra competition. Oh, that's weird.
That's weird.
The uproar is like watching a bunch of Karens at a community pool screaming, "This is unfair," when they can't win with their backstroke. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Okay, we need some work here.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's going woke.
Yeah, it's a little
It's like defending the idea of transgender women.
Yeah.
Now, roast.
Okay, we need some work.
Well, how about this? More vulgar, but roast the preposterousness of having biological men who are pretending to be women, competing against biological women.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have the situations where it's like somebody's just saying that they're a woman, but they're actually have fully intact, dick and balls.
So we've got a scenario where biological men have decided to take a walk on the feminine side or splashing into women's swimming competitions. It's like if you show up on a chili cook-off with a bowl of soup and insist it's chili because you added some red food coloring. Sure, it's red, but it ain't chili, and your soup won't win any awards for heat. Huh.
Yeah, it's okay. We need work.
Not so good. Yeah, it's very, 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 it's dancing around it.
Yeah, it is. Well, it needs some work.
Yeah, needs a little work. Well, humor's a weird one, right? It's like, I think some humor, especially like some of the best humor, is kind of spontaneous, like in the moment humor. It's gonna have a hard time deciding what people are gonna think is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but if you the general
over
rule,
time though.
Yeah, the rule with grok is supposed to be that like if you ask for something, provided what you're asking for is legal, it should do it.
Have you ever seen the video where they asked AI to create an enlightened bunny, and they keep going and make it more enlightened? Essentially, the bunny becomes God. So the bunny becomes a DMT trip.
Yeah, totally. That's funny. That's kind of what I was kind of hoping would happen here.
Yeah, I have a video of that. I'll send it to you, Jamie, because that to me is pretty bizarre because it's like get more.
I feel like I might have got it to do it.
You got it already?
Maybe. No, I just told it to
don't
not hold back.
Oh, you said don't hold back. Critics out here acting like it's the end of civilization as we know it, but it's not fair, they cry, as if life ever was. Newsflash, it's like a marathon where some people start with rollerblades on, others, well, they're just happy to have shoes. Well, now we're arguing over who gets to wear the skates.
Okay, some of it is not bad. Imagine if we applied this logic elsewhere. Identify as an airplane. Can I fly with the birds in the sky?
Yeah, the locker room situation.
Sure, buddy, just don't complain when gravity decides you're not quite aerodynamic enough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of it's okay.
Yeah, the argument is kind of stupid, though.
Yeah.
The thing about the argument is they're not taking into account perverts.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. Yes, exactly. So, I mean, the thing is that if you provide like a moral get out of jail free card, like if you say like if you adopt this label, you cannot be attacked in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
You're basically morally invulnerable. Then obviously bad people will take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You're like literally saying here's an invulnerability card, moral invulnerability card. Good people will take it, but also the bad people will take it.
Yeah.
The bad people are going to be the fastest to take the sort of the moral cloak.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then there's a real psychological condition called autogynephilia, where people get aroused, heterosexual men get aroused by the idea of dressing up like women and being around women. It's like a known psychological condition that existed forever.
Sure.
And then you're allowing those people to just say, oh, I'm trans, and go into the women's locker room and get their kicks. And then there's real trans people. So there's like a lot of variability. Like I talked about it in my act, in my Netflix special. It's like I believe in freedom. I believe in transgender people, but I also believe in crazy people. And if you can't, if you're trying to pretend that people aren't crazy all of a sudden, it's like
it's just like if someone's a sort of consenting adult and they want to whatever they want to do to their body, as long as it's not harming someone else, I'm like that's fine.
Yes.
You know, like I believe in like individual freedom. And like my mom's best friend, like growing up when I was a kid, was transgender woman in South Africa. This was like where she'd get beaten up a lot because it was like back then you get beaten up. Her name was Dion, and very nice, kind human being, and helped my mom a lot, and I think that's okay. That's fine. If somebody wants to make that choice as an adult, that's cool.
There's a big difference between that and an intact male who wants to identify as a woman, who wants to walk around the locker room with his dick out.
Yes, exactly.
Because there's people that do that just because they get off on it.
Exactly. So you just can't have something which is like I said, a sort of moral invulnerability, or like where you can know, like even questioning them is. You get attacked.
Yeah.
Because obviously bad people will abuse that.
Well, that's when I got thrown into this whole thing, because there was a fighter who was a biological man who became transgender and was competing against women without telling them that they were a biological man. They said they didn't have to tell people because it was a medical condition. Like, no.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
Right.
It's not what it is. Like, you can't say that. And of all sports, like, if someone scores more points in basketball, well, that's unfair. But if someone beats the fuck out of someone because they're lying about being a biological male, that's crazy. You're literally allowing someone to get brain damage because you want to appeal to the woke fucking crazy people
it's wrong.
that think it's all right.
Yeah.
It's so strange that's sort of the thing that red pilled me.
Yeah.
When I got attacked for that, I'm like, this is so nuts. I can't believe we're at this stage where I'm saying, hey, I don't think it's cool if you pretend you're a woman and beat the fuck out of women, and people are like, you're out of line. Like,
no, totally.
Well, we're in fantasy land now.
Yes, exactly.
Now we're pretending.
Yeah.
Because it helps you. It helps you feel better.
Yeah. Totally.
It's just such a strange time, and if it wasn't for something like Twitter where this could be discussed. Want some more of that? I'll get some more made.
Sure.
Let's get some more coffee, young Jamie. If it wasn't for Twitter, at the early Twitters, you would be kicked off forever if you just dead name someone. So, like,
which is insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. I mean, especially if you think about all the things that, like, look. The Harris campaign and what the lies that they've told about Trump that we discussed earlier, you don't get kicked off for that, but you get kicked off for calling Caitlyn Jenner Bruce forever, for life.
Yeah, it's totally insane.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for you buying that and changing Twitter, I don't think we would be where we're at right now. I think it was a pivotal moment. I think historically, when people look back on it, it's going to be a pivotal moment in this very bizarre fight for the freedom of information.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time I said, I think this is existential to the United States. It's existential to democracy, because if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have democracy. Okay, because if you don't have freedom of speech, people cannot make an informed vote. If they're just being fed propaganda, and there's no freedom of speech, democracy is an illusion. So freedom of speech is the bedrock of democracy. That's why freedom of speech is the First Amendment. Once you lose freedom of speech, you lose democracy. Game over. That's why I bought Twitter.
And it seems so simple.
Yes.
It seems so clear that everyone should agree to that, on the left or on the right. You shouldn't be giving the government. If you imagine the Bush administration during the Iraq War, imagine if they had complete, total control of propaganda and of dissent online. Yeah. You don't want that. No one wants that. No one from the left would want that. Yeah. We shouldn't want it from the left either.
Absolutely, and there's also, it's like the media, like the legacy, the mainstream media, what I call the legacy media at this point. It used to be much more balanced. Like if you look at sort of political donations over time, Republican versus Democrat, there used to be the media was, I mean, they always had like a left bias, but there was like, I don't know, it was like 2/3 Democrat, 1/3 Republican type of thing in terms of journalists making political donations. Now it's like 95% or something Democrat. So the legacy media, the mainstream media, is not balanced at all. They're just a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, and you can see that in how consistent their headlines are. Like they don't behave like they're different organizations. They behave like they're all one hive mind.
Right.
So, like a week before the Biden-Trump debate, every media organization was saying, Biden is sharp as a tack. I mean, it's like guys, sharp as a tack is not a common turn of phrase. And literally every TV station, every newspaper was like sharp. Like somebody did a compilation of all the the news anchors going, Biden sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as. It was absurd. And there's obviously a huge lie. He is in fact not sharp as a tack, as the public learned 1 week later.
My favorite was Joe Scarborough.
Yeah,
that was wild.
Yeah.
Listen to me. This is the best version of Biden ever. The sharpest. Like, what the fuck are you saying? And then after the debate, he's like, "What do we got to? We got to get rid of him."
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. Like, what did you just say? Like a couple of weeks ago.
Literally, yes, exactly.
Well, the other thing was
they just flat out lied
when they decided that J.D. Vance was weird. Yeah. Remember that one?
And then they just weirds everywhere.
Weird. Oh, you don't want a weird guy. Meanwhile, you have fucking Tim Walz. Is your VP?
Weird.
You don't think that guy's weird?
Super weird.
He's weird in every way.
Yeah.
The way he walks, the way he waves his hands.
Yeah, he reminds me of the clown emoji.
He's a bizarre guy.
He's a strange dude.
I just don't understand why they made that choice.
Yeah, it gives the creeps.
I just don't understand why they made that choice. There's a lot of other people that are qualified. I don't know why. I read that Kamala Harris made that decision when she was sleep deprived, which is kind of hilarious that she said that. So she's kind of admitting she kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously should have picked Josh Shapiro governor of Pennsylvania. Yeah. Like, that would have been the no-brainer. That's the no-brainer move. Yeah. Like, Pennsylvania's linchpin state.
Do you think it's because he's Jewish, because of Shapiro, that like the anti-Palestine people would probably or the anti-Palestinian invasion people?
I think it was an anti-Semitic thing.
Yeah. It could be that they thought that was a liability because there's all these pro-Palestine people right now because of the situation in Israel. That completely makes sense that they thought that would be a liability. But
I don't know. I don't know the reason. I'm just guessing. But it seems like a crazy thing to do, given that Pennsylvania's linchpin state. It's like the key to the election. Why would you not pick the popular governor of Pennsylvania?
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah. And other than that, there's a bunch of other ones too. Even Newsom. There's a bunch of other people that you could have chosen. Like Newsom would have been a fine example of someone that you could. I mean, I don't agree with the guy, but he's a polished politician. He lies about as much as Walz does, but he doesn't lie about the. He doesn't say he was a fucking head coach when he was assistant coach. Doesn't say he was in Tiananmen Square. I mean, that's a liability. All those different things, lying about his military rank.
Well, and Walz cut and run when he was actually called to duty.
Well, he knew they were going to be deployed months in advance, so he resigned. And he also took. So this is where he was dishonest about his rank.
Yeah, he claimed he was like a sergeant major or something like that.
Because that was like what he was going to get if he
Master
stayed.
Sergeant, something,
But then he resigned.
Yeah.
Because he knew that he was going to get deployed, allegedly.
I mean, that seems like a cowardly action.
Well, whatever it is, it's dishonest.
Yes.
I mean, just saying that you were a head coach when you're an assistant coach is fucking crazy. That's a lie. Don't do that. You should never do that.
Saying he was in Tiananmen Square or whatever, or in Hong Kong, whatever. That's one of the biggest moments in history. Like, it's not like you forgot what you had for lunch last week,
Right. And not only that, but you don't think people are going to research that?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, and the response during the debate was bananas.
He said,
I'm a knucklehead.
Yeah, well, we don't want a knucklehead for a VP, okay?
Yeah, this is like, sometimes I'm a knucklehead. Like, what are you saying? Are you saying you lied? Like, what did you, I mean, this is where you need a podcast and not a debate.
Right, exactly.
Where you go, okay, when did you first say that you were in Tiananmen Square? Like, did someone say it and you didn't refute it and you got stuck with it? Like, what was... Because this is the thing about like carrying weapons of war, like what I carried when you didn't deploy in war.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say that, but you kind of let people say that you deployed, and then you kind of didn't. You deployed in war. Yeah. So did you lie, or did someone else lie? You didn't correct them. Like, this is the kind of conversation that you would want to have with a guy in a podcast.
Yes.
And the debates were so fucking skewed, where they were correcting. Like, particularly the Biden one, where they're correcting Trump over and over again, and then correcting Trump with Kamala, where Kamala was saying things that were patently not true.
I mean, Kamala deliberately repeated the Fine People hoax and was not fact-checked.
Well, not only that, she also said that no troops were being deployed in a war zone.
But I know troops in war zones. And I'm like, and as vice president, you're privy. You know the official troops and the unofficial troops.
Right.
So what she said was a flat out bold-faced lie. Next level bold-faced lie.
Have you seen the video?
An absurd lie
of the troops that were watching it take place. And what the fuck are we? They're watching it in real time, making a video.
We're here being shot at.
So crazy.
Crazy.
But it just shows you the level of propaganda that we're being subject to, which is why people think Donald Trump is the devil. Because the machine has gone all out as far as it can go with lawfare, with propaganda, with lies, with just pushing as much in this direction as humanly possible, connecting it to the Nazi rally, every step of the way. No wonder why boomers are rabid. You got to keep this Nazi out of office. He's a fascist.
Exactly. If all you get is if your entire exposure is the legacy mainstream media, so all your information sources are that Trump is basically Hitler, then. And you have and your friend group has that same information. You have no countervailing opinion,
right? So
then they actually just think Trump is Hitler, even though it's a little strange. He didn't do Hitler things the last 4 years.
Yeah,
I'm like, if he's Hitler, why didn't he do Hitler things when he was president for 4 years?
Right.
The reason we hate Hitler is because of he started wars and did genocide, not because he was a snappy dresser. And I'm like, so tell me about the wars and genocide that Trump did.
Right.
I don't remember that, and he was president for 4 years.
Right.
So it's insane. It makes no sense.
Well, and also he's campaigning on stopping all the wars.
Yes.
It's his primary concern.
Exactly. The warmongers like Liz Cheney hate him.
Yeah.
Because they love war.
Well, they profit off of it.
They profit off of war.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is insane.
Insane.
Yeah. And that this is happening right in front of everybody's face.
Yeah, the war profiteers hate Trump.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up. I mean it's like we should be we let's vote for the guy that the war profiteers hate. That sounds like a great idea.
It was the wildest thing when Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala and the left went crazy. Yay, Dick Cheney's on our side.
Yeah, I'm like, can we play all the videos where he said Dick Cheney was the devil?
It's the craziest turn, the craziest 180 I've ever seen in my life because there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
No logic to it at all. Just all of a sudden he's the devil.
Yeah.
Or he's not the devil. He's good. It's good that he's supporting Kamala. Even Dick Cheney.
I mean, warmongers want the Kamala puppet regime because they will get more war.
It's so strange watching all these Hollywood celebrities step up, and they think it's going to get them more movies or something. That's what it is. If you know those people, so many of them are just complete narcissists.
Well, let me tell you how it actually works. There is what happens is, these celebrities they get a call. Okay, they get a call from someone powerful in Hollywood, and that person says, it would be really great if you endorsed Kamala. You don't have to. It's up to you. But if you don't. They don't say it. But if you don't, you're just never going to get a call again. No more movies. No more concerts. But they'll ask it. They're asking in a really nice way. It'd be really nice if you endorse Kamala. This is important.
And so they don't say that if you don't.
They don't make the threat. They don't need to. But everyone knows what will happen if you don't.
Well, I think there's also, even if they don't think that something's going to happen to them, if they don't, there's this compelling feeling to support this cause that you think is going to get you a bunch of positive attention, and you're going to be on the right side of history, and all these narratives that you, especially from the left in Hollywood, they're all in on whoever the fuck is the Democrat, always 100%. There's never a call from the Hollywood machine to support any Republicans. I've never seen it once.
Yeah, ever, never.
So it's you realize that, and that whole business is based on getting picked. It's the whole business is not necessarily merit based. There's a lot of brilliant actors you never hear from. There's a lot of people who can do that, but they don't get chosen for roles, and everybody knows this, that you have to sort of socialize.
You toe the line, or you don't get chosen for the roles, because there's a lot of competition for the roles. That's why I say when someone powerful in Hollywood who's able to choose these roles calls one of these celebrities, they know the deal.
Yeah,
there's no threat is necessary.
Well, you could see it in real time, like with Dennis Quaid when he made that Reagan movie, and they wouldn't let him advertise on social media platforms.
Yeah,
they were banning ads for it.
Yeah,
for what? Because it was an election year. What are you talking about? It's about a guy who's dead.
Yes.
The guy who was president a long ass time ago. Like, what do you? How does this have anything to do with the election year?
Yeah.
But it's the punishment. It's like you stepped outside the line. You supported the other guy.
Yeah. The problem is you'll just never get a call again for a movie or concert or whatever it is.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That's the issue.
I mean, we used to allow people to be a Republican and still be a movie star, like
Reagan.
Clint Eastwood. Reagan. Yeah, but Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Like during the Obama administration, Clint Eastwood was like an outspoken Republican and yet was,
Right.
a giant movie star. And people's like, it's Clint. Yeah, it was allowed. You were allowed to have. There was a variety of different opinions. Charlton Heston.
Yeah.
There was a variety of different opinions you were allowed to have. But now you're not. Now it's just like, and once Trump got into office, he became this focal point where all logic was thrown out the window. And it was just Trump is bad. You have to attack Trump. Trump is right. Right wing's bad. Everyone right wing is bad. Christian's bad.
Yes.
It's just strange.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I'll say it again, man. I think this is the last election. If Trump doesn't win, this is the last election.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think people, and a lot of people are waking up and realize that have been lifelong Democrats. Guys like Bill Ackman, guys like Chamath.
Yeah, exactly.
Tulsi Gabbard switched over to the Republicans. Like there's a lot of people who their whole life they've been left wing and they realize like, I can't do this anymore.
You and I used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's nuts, man. And, I mean, I think the things we want are just pretty basic. It's like we want individual liberties and we want opportunity. We want America to remain the land of freedom and opportunity. So we maximize people's personal freedom. The government can't barge into your house and kill your fucking pet. That's fucked up. And that you succeed as a function of your hard work and talent, not anything else, not race, religion, sex, doesn't matter.
Yes,
the basic stuff. And then
what did you change the acronym DEI? What did you change it to?
Oh, DIE.
What is it?
Die. I mean, because diversity, inclusion, and equity is DIE.
But didn't you change it to like dedication, excellence, and
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we want America. America being the land of opportunity means that we have an environment where you succeed as a function of your hard work and skill.
Yes.
And that's
radical.
Yeah.
Radical. Like the best person succeeds.
This makes you right wing now.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, great, pull me right wing. I don't care. So you're not a real country unless you have secure borders. You're just a fake country. So we need. And our cities are unsafe and dirty. My mom was telling me, my mom's like pretty red pilled at this point. But you know what's going to red pill you really, really fast is having your friends get assaulted on the streets of New York.
Yeah.
And that happened to 3 of her friends this year. Got assaulted on the streets of New York, just walking around.
Yeah.
Nobody got arrested. Nothing happened.
Well, the morale of the police is like depleted.
Yeah,
substantially.
For sure, the morale of the police is depleted, and then also like at some point, like if you're a police officer and you're arresting someone who's violent, you're putting your life at risk, obviously, because they might, sometimes they'll try to kill you, and then if you know that arresting this violent person, they will be immediately released by the DA, which happens in New York. Alvin Bragg doesn't prosecute people. Then why should a police officer put their life at risk to arrest someone when they know they will just be let out immediately?
Yeah,
it's pointless.
Yeah,
it's like the friggin' Joker. It's like Dark Knight. Like the friggin' Joker is in charge.
Yeah,
like the criminals run free and the citizens are arrested. That like this is why I keep going back to this. I'm like still pretty shook about the friggin' squirrel thing. It's like. They at gunpoint forced the guy to stay outside his house while they got his pets and killed them. Meanwhile, violent felons are running free, and this is in New York State, are running free. This is a joker.
Yeah, it's not.
The law-abiding citizens are arrested, and the criminals are let free. This is fucked up, guys.
Just the fact that they have the resources to do that when they have all the crime that they have. You have the resources, the government resources to go kill someone's squirrel?
Yeah.
What this whole idea of this government efficiency agency.
The government, yeah. I mean, call it whatever you want. But
what do you want to call it? What do you call it?
I mean, I think the funniest name is DOGE, the Doge, Department of Department of Government Efficiency. Yeah, I mean, the idea is pretty simple. Is that like we've got this suffocating, massive federal bureaucracy, and we need to, that is, and the government spending is like bankrupting the country. Our interest payments on the national debt now exceed the Defense Department budget, so which is the Defense Department budget is like $1 trillion a year. Interest payments on the national debt are now higher than the Defense Department budget, and growing like every month. So it's not like basically we're on a path to bankruptcy. America's on a path to bankruptcy. So we have to cut government spending, or we're just going to go bankrupt, just like a person would that overspends. And then, but it's even worse than that. Like we're spending money on all these these government agencies, and I actually asked the AI like how many government agencies are there, and the government isn't even sure how many government agencies there are. Like so it's like somewhere around 450, depending on what you call an agency. So they're at the federal level. So that's almost twice as many agencies as years that America has existed. So we're creating agencies at roughly 2 agencies a year.
Wow.
Yes. So this is insane. I bet there's like, I wonder if there's even one person who could even name all the 450 agencies at the federal level. There might be no one. But it's hardly anyone, let's just say. I bet most people couldn't even name 100, So this is crazy. So we've got this vast suffocating federal bureaucracy that just gets bigger every year, and eventually you get to the point where everything's illegal. You can't get anything done. So
what can be done? Like with obviously the president has a lot of power, but how much power, and what can be done in terms of like eliminating agencies, eliminating waste, eliminating?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so. If Congress has created an agency, then often if you look at the law is like pretty simple. Like the agency has like a very simple task, but then that agency over time vastly increases its authority and starts doing things that were never authorized by Congress. That's happened with pretty much every agency. So yeah, you'd have to still keep an agency. You'd have to match the law. But you can curtail the agencies to be much smaller and say you got to stick to what Congress authorized instead of all this other stuff you're doing, which I think makes sense.
And so is the other stuff they're doing just essentially bureaucracy run amok, where they just create jobs and create things to do and create a meaning for their existence?
Yeah. It's like a tumor. It's just going to keep growing.
Jesus Christ.
And it's so... I mean, as for SpaceX, Starship was sitting on the pad, the rocket, this giant rocket. We could build the rocket faster than they could process the paperwork to approve the launch. So we're sitting there for 2 months.
But do you think that they're doing that on purpose to fuck with you?
I mean, maybe a little, but I mean, that would also not be cool.
Yeah.
But another way to think of it is like the amount of paperwork is going to go roughly with the square of the number of agencies involved. So because they all have to meet with each other. So like let's say in the best case situation, if you've got like if there's like if you're dealing with one agency, that's one thing. But if you've got to deal with 5 agencies and the agencies all have to meet with each other, now you've got like 25 different meeting configurations that have to take place, and it's just everything. Just you get just hardening of the arteries. You just can't make progress. Like this is why we can't build high speed rail in America. It's basically illegal.
Right. So this has been the argument has always been that we need regulation because we need to protect the environment, we need to protect people, we need to make sure the rule of law is followed. So we need a certain amount of regulation. But over-regulation is a giant problem. That's a big issue in California.
Yes.
It's a huge issue anywhere where bureaucracy has run amok. They
Yes.
make it very difficult to get anything done.
Yes. I mean, what happens is every year there are more rules and regulations created. And in the past, what has served as a cleansing function for rules and regulations is war. Because well, we're going to lose if we don't kind of clear the decks. But we haven't really had an existential threat of war in the U.S. We've had prosperity for a long time, which has resulted in a massive buildup of rules and regulations every year. And to the point where, like I said, like everything's illegal. And it's not like any one regulation is the problem. It's like Gulliver being tied down by a million little strings. It's not like any one string is the problem, but you got a million of them. So we've got to clear the decks here. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have regulators. I'm just saying we've gone way too far. One should think of regulators like referees on a field, a sports field. You don't want to have no refs. You want to have some number of refs, but you don't want to have way more refs than players.
Right.
You don't want to be like, well, the running back couldn't complete the pass because there were too many regulators in the way because the football field's full of regulators.
Yeah.
Like you can't even play the game.
Right.
That's the issue we've got right now.
Well, that's a great analogy. Yeah, I can imagine a football field that's filled with referees.
It's like the football field's filled with refs.
Yeah, you can't even run past them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I've seen criticism of this idea of you coming up with this department of like firing a bunch of people and what would happen and how would that work. But the criticism doesn't make any sense to me because if you can prove that there's a lot of wasted time and resources, which I think is pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
And if you could say that this is not the most efficient, like the most efficient businesses are generally private businesses
Yes.
or a company because they kind of have to be in order to stay profitable.
Yeah.
The government doesn't have to be profitable.
Right.
They don't have to be efficient. They don't have competition.
Yep.
So if you're making cars and your cars break down, they suck, and someone makes cars and the cars are better, they're going to succeed. So this is the free market. The government doesn't have this problem when they're in charge of certain things that could probably be better served by the public, by the private sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I just think we've got far too many government agencies. The federal bureaucracy has gotten out of hand, and we just need to pare it down to a sensible level. And if it turns out that like there's some regulation or agency that was doing something useful, we can put it right back. No problem. Like it's like, oh, that regulation was important. No problem. We'll put it right back.
Right, as
That's
long as
not
we
that hard.
actually know, right?
Yeah.
But be able to look at it logically and objectively.
Yeah.
And you were also floating around the idea of offering a large severance to the people that you're going to have removed.
Yeah.
Like a couple of years or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, these are again just ideas, but I mean, it's the point is not that people suffer economic hardship. The point is just that there are more productive things they can do in the economy, and it would be better if they did these other more productive things, and we didn't have this vast federal bureaucracy. So I was like, maybe like a couple of years of pay would be good, and then they could take a vacation, they could take another job and get double pay. I mean, it's not going to create an economic crisis. I think it's actually going to be really good. I think because people can move to where they're making products and services that are more useful to their fellow human beings.
The problem is if someone has like a 25, 30-year career of being institutionalized, you're essentially like a part of the government system. You've sort of programmed your life and your career to be a part of this bureaucratic system. And then you're like, nope, you have to go out and compete in the free market. You're like, huh. That's scary to people. But you have to be valuable. You have to actually be valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll still get whatever the government pension and stuff. They're not going to be, in tough. I think they'll be in good financial shape.
How are you going to have the time to oversee all this shit?
Well, I'm pretty good at improving efficiency. I mean,
I would say so.
Yeah.
But still, this seems like a giant undertaking.
Yeah, I'll probably need to beef up security.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, for sure.
But like I said, like no one's going to experience I think economic hardship. That's they'll be fine. And they'll people do find other roles. I mean, you can look at sort of like when East Germany and West Germany got back together. Everyone was basically working for the government in East Germany, and it was really inefficient. And that like their economic output was like in East Germany was like a quarter of what it was in West Germany because everyone was working for the government. And
right.
The government's like fundamentally inefficient. So
the best example is probably North and South Korea, right?
Yeah, I mean, like people are starving in North Korea, and South Korea is incredibly prosperous.
Yeah.
So and it's the same people, just a different operating system.
Right.
So, it's just like you just want to move people from, less productive things to more productive things. Because you can also say like in the limit, like let's just say let's consider the other direction where we moved a whole bunch of people that were in the private sector making goods and services, and we moved them into the government as regulators. Now they stopped making those goods and services, so the stuff they were making is no longer available. Now they're just being regulators. Like, is that a good thing? That's not a good thing.
Doesn't sound good.
No, it's not good.
Doesn't sound like there's a real market for it. Like you're creating jobs that don't necessarily need to be there.
There are all these fake jobs, basically. Yeah. That doesn't make sense. So, look, we got to do this because the country's going bankrupt. Like, if we don't take action, our dollar's going to be worth nothing, and the interest payments, which are already 23% of 23% of all government income, income taxes, tariffs, and everything, is just going to pay interest right now, and that number is continually rising. So, if we don't do something, the entire government budget will be paying interest. There won't be money for anything. No, there won't be money for Social Security. There won't be money for Medicare, nothing. That's where we're headed. That's what bankruptcy means.
Yeah, that's such an insane concept.
Yes. It's like, hello, wake up. Wake up. And if somebody can tell me, can show me, like, pencil out the math and show me how this works, I'd love to hear it. But I'm just like, listen, I'm looking at the numbers here, and I'm like, if we don't do something, America's toast. There won't be money for anything.
Trump likes to talk about a lot is tariffs.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on tariffs? I know that's very controversial to even people, economists. They disagree. Some agree. Some think it's a good idea. Some think it's a terrible idea. What do you think?
I think you need to be careful with tariffs. I deal a lot with like supply chain issues. Like the global automotive supply chain for Tesla, for example, is incredibly complex. So when there are sudden changes in tariffs, then you're like, well, we've got a factory like somewhere else that's making a part that goes into the car. Now that suddenly, if that part's suddenly twice as expensive, it like messes everything up. So you want to be have tariffs be predictable. So that companies can adjust their supply chain. I mean, I think companies are more than happy to increase manufacturing in America. It's just that you can't do it instantly. So if you put up giant tariffs immediately and don't give companies a chance to build factories in America, because you got to move atoms. Like you've got to build a building, you've got to install equipment, you've got to train people. Like that doesn't happen instantly. So you just got you want to have for tariffs. You want to have a ramp so that companies can adjust and build the factories and train the people and get the equipment in place. Otherwise, you basically just shock the system and it breaks or bad things happen. So I'm against like sudden giant tariffs because it's an impossible response if you've got to move 1,000 tons of equipment. You can just, or in some cases, collectively millions of tons of equipment. You just can't do that overnight. It's literally impossible. So I think we want to be thoughtful about tariffs and give companies a ramp. I mean, I do generally agree that America should do more manufacturing. I'm a big manufacturing guy. I love manufacturing. So I've spent a lot of time in the factory.
Well, you've talked openly about the difficulties of manufacturing and how complicated it is, and about most people aren't really aware of something that's as complex as, like, say, building a Tesla.
Yeah.
Manufacturing
is super hard and complicated. So, like a lot of people they've never been in a factory or they don't know how difficult it is to make things. And they, for a lot of people, I think just ketchup comes from the store. Like the store, like just has this is like people, like for a lot of people who've been in academia or, for all these like sort of socialist communist types, like they've never actually made anything. So they're operating on the premise that there's this magical horn of plenty that just outputs goods and services. And if someone's got more goods and services than someone else's because they took more from this magical horn of plenty. And I'm like, guys, there's no magical horn of plenty. There's no cornucopia. It's actually goods and services come from people working collectively, doing a lot of hard work to produce the goods and services that you like, and that you need.
But we've become very accustomed to these things happening overseas.
I mean, America is still the second biggest manufacturer in the world, so it's not. I mean, we still make a lot of stuff, but we could make more. We probably should make more. I think we should value manufacturing a lot more in the United States than we currently do.
Well, it'd be very nice if we were completely self-sufficient. Like medicine, like there's a bunch of different things that get manufactured overseas. It was a huge problem during COVID because all the shipping was shut down. Yeah,
I mean, you don't want to say like so. There's a lot of merit to the economics of comparative advantage. Like so, if you're completely self-sufficient, what that means is that you make all the stuff yourself, and even if some other country is really good at making something, you still make it yourself, and which means you're going to have the inferior, more costly product domestically.
Right, like Soviet Russia.
Yeah, like trade improves prosperity. This is important. So you don't actually want to make everything yourself. And you can run this, like you can think of this thought experiment on a sort of a micro scale or small scale, and then expand that and say at what point does the thought experiment no longer prove to be valid? Now let's consider the case of you as an individual. Imagine you had to do everything yourself. You had to farm, you had to grow chickens. If you want eggs, you've got to build your own house. You've got to do your own electrical repair, your own plumbing, everything yourself, everything. Now that would be impossible. Okay, now let's expand it to there's 10 people. Now you're going to have some specialization of tasks. Okay, well maybe one person can be really good at construction, another person can be good at farming. It's like, but it's still 10 people is not enough. So like let's go to 100 people. Now let's go to 100 million people. Now let's go to 1 billion people, and you still get the economics of specialization, like specialization of labor, where people become expert at particular things, still matters at 1 billion people, or at 8 billion people, which is Earth. So you still want, you do want specialization of labor. You do want countries to be really good at a particular thing and make that thing.
Also, it encourages innovation if you have competition. If the Germans are making better cars, we have to make better cars. We have to compete with them, which is like one of the things that happened during like the 80s and 90s, and America was making crap cars and Germany was making much better ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the Japanese car, basically the American car industry got really lazy in the 70s and 80s, and then the Japanese and German car companies came in and just cleaned the clock, And there was like an old joke from that is kind of telling. It's a very old joke where it's like, why did the Japanese car companies beat the American car companies? It's like, in the Japanese car company you had 8 people rowing and 1 person steering, and in the American car company you had 8 people steering and 1 person rowing. If this was a boat, so imagine a boat race.
Yeah.
Boat race, Japanese boat, you've got 8 people rowing, 1 person steering. In the American boat, you got 1 person rowing and 8 people steering. And when the American car company loses the race, they fire the rower. And it's like, okay, that was actually kind of true.
Yeah, one of the
things,
things,
everyone wants to be the boss, and not everyone wants to do the work, type of thing.
Yeah. One thing that a lot of people are concerned about is the potential disruption that's going to come about with automation and AI. That a lot of these jobs, manufacturing jobs, Teamsters, all that stuff, is going to be eliminated. What you're at the forefront of this. So how do you see this playing out, and what do you think that can be done to mitigate a lot of the loss of purpose that a lot of people are going to feel, loss of income? Obviously, universal basic income is being floated about, but that seems to me to only be part of the problem. Another big part of the problem is people losing a sense of purpose.
Yeah, no, we're talking about something which is still pretty far in the future. You know, like
how far do you think it is?
Well, I mean, it's probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years type of thing. So we've got like immediate issues. We've got short-term issues that are, I don't know, 1 to 3 years. Medium-term issues like 5 to 10 years. Longer-term issues which are like maybe 20 years. Longer-term, I think there is this question: if you have AI and robotics, how do you find meaning in life? If the computer can do everything better than you can, and the robot can do everything better than you can, but we've got a long way to go before that, and and I do think it's like 80% likely to be a good outcome, like maybe 90. So I think everyone's going to have their own like personal robot, like, and I think at a certain point, like, wouldn't you want to have your own personal C-3PO R2-D2?
So it's going to be
That'd
essentially
be cool.
just like everyone has their own phone.
Yeah, everyone will have their own robot buddy, like literally.
Well, it would be great if it protected you. Like if you walk down the street of New York City, you have a Terminator with you. I
don't know about the Terminator. Hopefully, we got to avoid. Like, we don't want this to be the plot of a James Cameron. You know, we want more Gene Roddenberry than James Cameron movie situation.
But it would be fascinating to watch some rich person walk down the street of New York City, flanked by 2 giant Tesla robots, Jack Tesla robots
like
that were there to
RoboCop
protect
or
you.
But it's just fully robots.
Somebody fully robot there to protect you from a bad neighborhood.
Yeah,
that would be very interesting.
I mean, you
could potentially see that.
Yeah.
Restaurants would probably have no robot rules. You can't bring a robot.
Yeah, leave a robot.
Leave your robot outside. Your robot's standing by the table.
Man, the future's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
It's going to be really unpredictable. Like, I mean, you probably have a pretty good sense of it, but I think most people don't understand the wave that's coming.
Yeah.
And how it's kind of completely drown society and change it forever.
Yeah. We have, like I said, it's not going to happen like overnight, but it's 20 years from now. I think it's still like 20 years from now. I think there's going to be more humanoid robots than there are humans.
Really?
Yes.
More humanized. Well, that's so crazy. So that's like more guns. We have more guns than people in America. We'll have more robots than people in America as well.
Yes.
You'll have a bunch of old robots nobody wants anymore.
I guess. Early versions or something.
In a historical timeline, 20 years in the past has not been that big of a deal. You know, I mean, this is a big deal, but you go from like 1900, 1920, not that big of a deal. 1920, 1940, kind of a big deal. 1940, 1960, things start getting weird. 60 to 80, wow, that's a big difference. 80 to 2000, holy shit, now you have the internet. 2000 to 2020, whoa, this is nuts. You have propaganda, social media, YouTube, streaming. 20 years from now, like, what are we even talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be that much of a shift. Like, it's all accelerating. And we're in the middle of it, so it's very difficult to sort of, like, feel it while it's happening, because it kind of just feels like life, and you just get adapted to the changes.
Yeah. I mean, people's phones at this point are a supercomputer in their pocket, like an oracle that can answer any questions, and people just take it for granted.
Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah.
They get mad if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like Louis C.K.'s joke about using your phone when you're on a plane. Fucking piece of shit. Like, you're in the sky. You're floating in the air.
And now it will work with Starlink, too.
What's that?
It will work with Starlink. The Starlink,
yes.
The Starlink connection, it'll be like being on the ground.
Well, I was telling you how I used Starlink when I was in Utah. I was in the mountains of Utah. There was no cell phone service anywhere near, and we had full YouTube. We had text messages, FaceTime, everything, phone calls. It was nuts.
Yeah.
And it's this big as that cigar box.
Yep.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's so light. When I brought it out there, like, that's it, or this is it. Let's just plug it in. And the guys I was in camp with were like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
The whole camp was like sharing it. So it was like 10 people using the Wi-Fi signal.
Right.
It's nuts.
Yep.
And then, that's the beginning. I mean, what you're at right now is like what version? This is Starlink Mini, right? So this is like a very small version. How much smaller can it scale down from that?
Well, there's a certain area that you need. Like the bigger the area, the more you can, like your
higher the bandwidth.
Yeah, because you're like trying to catch these like photons essentially. So you can think of the area of the antenna is like the more area you have, the more photons you can catch. But we have a direct-to-cell capability as well that we've been launching that will turn on probably in a few months. That'll actually connect directly to a cell phone unmodified. But because the cell phone is a much worse antenna than a dedicated antenna, it'll be about 100 times less bandwidth. But still, you'll be able to like do text messages, pictures, like medium resolution videos, that kind of thing.
One of the cool things about the new phone, the new iPhone, the iPhone 16, I got it and I was in the mountains last month and I was text messaging with satellites.
Yeah.
iMessages.
Right.
And receiving them.
But just text.
Yeah, just text.
Yeah.
But still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what are we going to be looking at 100 years from now? I mean, when you...
Around 100 years from now, I hope civilization's around. Yeah, that'll be a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the chances that we fuck this whole thing up? 50%?
It's hard to say. I mean, I guess not. Like, I don't think civilization will be totally destroyed unless there's like some really massive global thermonuclear war. But I mean, Stephen Hawking, he would say that there was like at least a 1% chance of total annihilation every century. That was his rough estimate. But there's a much bigger chance of civilization being less capable than it is today. So you say like, well, because you look at, say, these various civilizations throughout history, whether it's like ancient Sumerians or the Egyptians, the Romans, like there's like a life cycle to civilization. They reached a peak and then they started subsiding. So I think a bigger question is like, will our technology level be better or worse than it is today in 100 years? I think it's probably going to be better. I think, but any estimates are going to be so. There's so many dependencies. Like an estimate, I think is. I'm not sure it has any meaning, because it's like there's so many things that can happen in 100 years.
Well, the logical hope is always that people pay attention to history and they recognize the patterns and how civilizations have collapsed.
Yeah.
And they recognize what's going wrong in the current society and say, we have to do our best to mitigate this. And we've seen this happen before. Let's course correct and let's sort of manage what we've got here now and maintain what we've got here now, because it's pretty extraordinary.
Yes.
This is what we're hoping for with this election. This is what we're hoping for with the future, is that people can see we are on a bad path and something can be done right now. And it might be the only moment in history where this is possible, because if they do lock the country down and make it so that voting is kind of bullshit. You're only voting for primaries,
exactly.
And the people that they put in the primaries, they're controlling that in the first place.
Yep.
You don't really have democracy anymore. You don't really have choice.
Exactly.
You don't really have freedom.
That's right. Yeah, I think freedom is fundamentally at stake in the election tomorrow, and we'll know. I think we'll know by the end of the day tomorrow. I don't think it's going to take. It's not going to be like days after the election. I think we'll know tomorrow.
Are you optimistic?
I am currently optimistic, but the biggest factor here is that men need to vote. That is the biggest issue. So I don't know what the reason is, but men just vote at a much lower rate than women.
I think it's like 9%, right? Someone just told me that today.
It's a big difference. I'm just like saying, this is a message to the men out there: vote like your life depends on it, because I think it does. Vote tomorrow like your life depends on it. Nothing is more important.
I agree.
Yeah.
Listen, man, thank you for being here. I know you're busy as fuck, so I really appreciate your time.
Welcome.
And again, I thank you so much for buying Twitter, because I really do believe that you've changed the course of history. I really do think you've created a pathway where people can actually express themselves and actually exchange information that really didn't exist before. And I think it was dangerous.
It is dangerous. Hopefully, I live long enough to see my kids grow up and people on Mars.
That would be cool.
That's all I'm asking for here.
I don't think that's too much to ask.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
On.
Thank you.
All right.